And we are live for week 14. How's it going, everyone? We got the final regular season game of the fantasy football season here in week 14. Got a ton of leagues out there where it is win and in. We're going to talk a little bit about the fantasy football playoffs today because it's not enough just to get there. We got to win once we get in to the fantasy football playoffs. A ton of week 14 buys, making this final week really tough in a lot of spots. We're going to talk through every single game on this live like we do every single Sunday morning. This is year 5, week 14 of the Sunday morning lives for me. Shout out to every single one of you who's tuned in already. Grateful for you all. Shout out to the OGs, the WalterPicks subscribers, and any of the new listeners out there today. Appreciate you all so much. I see we already got a ton of comments before the live even started for some start sits to get through. A lot of questions about Luther Burden, Deebo Samuel. I see some Alec Pierce questions in the chat. We're going to get to all of the tough start sits today. It is week 14. Let's get after it, man. I am locked in for this week 14 slate. There's some weather to talk through. There are a bunch of injuries to talk through as well. We have mostly close projected games on the slate today, but yeah, Weatherman Sam's going to be here for you today, guys. I got the weather report ready to go as well. As usual, we're going to, by the way, every single season, I'm good for like one flu-like symptom live stream, and that's going to be today, suffering through some flu-like symptoms. Going to do my best to battle through here on the Sunday morning live. I do apologize if the voice is a little raspy here in week 14. But we're going to talk through every single game like we normally do on the Sunday morning live. We're going to get to the DraftKings lineup. I got 3 free player props for us. Went 3 for 5 on the free props. Missed on 2. The 2 props we missed on, the other prop for that player hit. Missed on the Juwan Johnson yards, but hit on his receptions. And I think the other one was someone to score. We had someone to score last week. He did score, didn't hit his rushing yards prop though. So went 3 for 5. So we're up to 66% on the season on these free player props. Let's get into the game by game section of the live. I'm going to get to a ton of start sits, I promise, on the live stream today as well. Let's jump over to the QB rankings first here on both live streams. Shout out to everyone watching live on TikTok and everyone watching live on YouTube. If you're watching live on YouTube, guys, smash the like button. Takes 2 seconds. Really helps out early on in the stream. All right, we're going to start with this Dolphins-Jets game. By the way, there's 8 games in the early window today. So if you're on Eastern time like me, 8 games at 1, only 3 games in the late window. Hate when they do it like this. Come on. Let's at least get 7 and 4. 6 and 5 would be ideal, in my opinion. But we got 8 1 o'clock games and 3 late window games. All right, so the first game to talk through here is this Dolphins versus Jets game. Guys, there's going to be fantasy points scored in this game. This game has a 41.5 point total. I think both rushing attacks will be pretty successful in this spot. And Jahmyr Gibbs, he's making a late push to be the running back overall 1 in fantasy football and points per game. Achane still in that conversation, though, as well. And he's got another good spot here against the Jets. Achane, Bijan, Gibbs, JT, and McCaffrey all averaging more than 21 points per game. Gibbs, JT, and McCaffrey all over 23. But yeah, Achane, like we've seen the last few weeks, back in week 10, we really saw it, capable of just breaking a slate. He can break slates. And it's definitely going to be possible here versus the Jets. His total yards is near 100 total yards in this spot. We just saw Bijan go for 30 points. Combined, Bijan and Tyler Algier went for 45 points against this Jets defense last week. Bijan had 5 catches for 51 yards and 142 rushing yards. Bijan had 30 points, only scored 1 touchdown. Algier vultures a touchdown. Bijan still goes for 30. Week before that, Derrick Henry had 22. The week before that, Trevion Henderson had 32 against the Jets. A really good spot here for Devon Achane. He ranks as the running back 1. Both the running back ranks here among the running backs left on the slate today, ahead of James Cook, who has a really good case to be running back 1. Same thing with JT. Same thing with Bijan. I do think Bijan's like a a tier below Cook and JT and Achane, though, or at least the bottom of that tier today. Jalen Waddle, he projects as a top 10 play of the receivers left this week, coming off a really disappointing game, really back-to-back disappointing games for Jalen Waddle. 3 catches for 40 and 52 yards respectively over his last 2. He's still seeing 30% target shares, though. You still really have to start Jalen Waddle. I mean, there's really no bench of Jalen. I don't think there's going to be start sits where I say to bench Jalen Waddle. Only other notable player in this game for fantasy is Darren Waller. The last time Darren Waller played the Jets back in week 4, he had 3 catches, 2 touchdowns, scored 18 fantasy points. That was his first game of the season. He came back last week, only played 47% of the snaps. That we probably see that rise. He's probably going to get close to this 60% snap range today. He's got a really good chance to score every single week. He's got a 33% touchdown rate this season. He's not in the rankings touchdown rate wise because he doesn't have enough volume yet, but he's one of the better touchdown scorers at tight end in the league, just based on the first 3 games we saw from him. And again, 2 of those came against the Jets. Definitely capable of scoring. He's a deep tight end option. He still ranks outside the top 20 at tight end, but yeah, worth noting. I think we're going to see some Malik Washington questions today. He's had at least 7 points now in 5 straight games. He has a kind of a gadget type role. He's coming off a 25% target share. His receptions prop, I think, was at 2.5 receptions, was kind of interesting. He has beaten that in pretty much every game except 1 in his last 8 games. But there's not a real ceiling here from Malik Washington. I'd prefer to stay away. On the Jets side of this game, we're going to get a lot of Jets start sits today too. Breece Hall, he's a must start in this spot. He had 100% of the running back carries last week. Played 88% of the snaps. That was a season high, 68% rush share. It almost feels like, to me, the Jets at this point, they know they're moving on from Breece after the season. So why not just give him the ball a ton? He had 19 carries. That was his 3rd most of the season. And now he's a pretty good matchup here versus the Dolphins. He did have over 100 total yards against the Dolphins in their first matchup, had 16 points in that one and didn't even score. And we've been on this really since Tyrod Taylor took over. He's able to actually complete passes. I mean, we've seen 2 games now with Tyrod Taylor over the last couple of weeks. And the offense is like it's a below average offense still, but it's like a competent passing offense all of a sudden. The passes are being completed. 19 completions. Last week, 17 completions. The week before that, we really weren't seeing this with Justin Fields. And it's thrust these 2 receivers, Adonai Mitchell and John Mechie, into start-sit conversations. We're going to see, I know we're going to see a lot of Adonai Mitchell start-sits. Let's pull up the wide receiver rankings here. We do have AD Mitchell a point and a half above John Mechie. AD Mitchell's coming off the bigger game. I think AD Mitchell is the more exciting, explosive, high upside player too. He went 8 for 102 and a touchdown against the Falcons. One of these 2 guys is going to have a usable fantasy week every given week. AD Mitchell's had at least a 23% target share 3 straight games. He's not really coming off the field. 87% snap share. The snap share is even higher for John Mechie. We did cash the John Mechie prop. That was a pretty fortunate cash with John Mechie. Came at the very end of the game. I believe there's really close to not hitting. He also had a bunch of drops, though. 8 targets. He had 8 targets. His line was over 3.5 catches, just barely beat it. 4 catches, only 19 yards for Mechie last week, but 97% snap share. And he's now had back-to-back games over 25% of the targets. These are startable receivers in fantasy spots, guys. You could do much worse than AD Mitchell and John Mechie today. There's also a bunch of weather across the league. We're going to get to the weather. I promise we're going to get to Weatherman Sam's weather report. And Weatherman Sam's weather report has nothing to do with its AD Mitchell, John Mechie, Dolphins, and Jets game. In games, there's some games in domes, and there's some games in just good weather. This is one of them. It's an okay tiebreaker in some spots. Last guy to mention here, Mason Taylor. He ranks pretty low for us. I do think it makes sense to have him rank low. He hasn't been over 7 points since week 8. I mean, it's been over a month since we've seen Mason Taylor go over 7 points. He hasn't done much in the 2 games with Tyrod Taylor either. But it's not a bad matchup here against the Dolphins. The first game he had against the Dolphins, he went 5 catches for 65 yards, finished as tight end 11 that week, didn't even score. The Dolphins have been atrocious versus tight ends this season, so Mason Taylor, an interesting sleeper. That's pretty much it here for the Jets. I'm not gonna risk it with Tyrod Taylor in fantasy, though. I think his floor is like okay. I'm gonna be risking it in my DFS lineup with some even grosser quarterbacks. You guys are gonna see that a bit later on in the live, so maybe I should be at least considering the Tyrod Taylor, AD Mitchell, Tyrod Taylor, John Mechie stacks. But I do think both these offenses, the Jets and the Dolphins, ultimately lean pretty heavy on the run and see success there. I am taking the Jets as underdogs in this one. Jets 2.5-point underdogs at home. I think the Jets are very capable of winning this. Pretty equal teams, in my opinion, here between the Dolphins and the Jets. Dolphins are on a bit of a win streak. All right, let's jump to I'm seeing some Ravens questions, so let's jump to the Ravens-Steelers game here. Lamar Jackson is someone we're going to have to talk through. Let me pull up the QB ranks here again. We started there. Let me pull them up again. Shout out to everyone in this live stream right now, by the way. We're going game by game right now. We're going game by game. This is a Boca Raton hat. Yeah, TikTok Live. This is a Boca Raton hat. I did get married at the Boca Raton. So yeah, I'm rocking the Boca Raton hat today, not the math hat. Here in week 14. Shout out to you if you work there. I think I saw that in the chat. All right, Ravens. Shock someone knows what this logo is. Ravens go against Pittsburgh today. This game is at home, though, for the Baltimore Ravens. Lamar has not historically done well versus the Steelers. Lamar has not looked like Lamar for the better part of the second half of the season. Now, every single week, I'm coming onto this live stream talking about how I think Lamar Jackson is going to bounce back, and it just has not happened. It's hard to keep assuming this offense is going to bounce back. We've now seen 3 straight weeks, and really the last 2 are the most notable because these came in good matchups. I mean, this was a good matchup. Last week against the Bengals, Lamar goes for 7.5 points. That's it for Lamar. 7.5 points against this atrocious Cincinnati Bengals defense. I mean, definitely do expect better than that from Lamar. He hasn't been over 10 points now, guys, in 3 straight games. Like, it's getting very difficult to trust Lamar. The Steelers haven't been good versus quarterbacks this season, though. It's like another good matchup. He doesn't really have a bad matchup. The next 2 weeks, he gets the Bengals again after this week in the first week of the fantasy playoffs. Yeah, Lamar right now, he ranks in the middle of tier 2 for me, behind Mahomes against the best defense in the NFL. I'd still play Mahomes. I'm playing Jacoby Brissett over Lamar. I'm playing Daniel Jones over Lamar, but Daniel Jones playing in the rain. We'll talk through that spot. I wouldn't knock you for going Lamar over Daniel Jones, moving Daniel Jones maybe down to the bottom of tier 2, down there with Trevor Lawrence. It's a good matchup on paper for Daniel Jones. There's going to be pretty heavy rain in that game. I'm not overly concerned, but it's okay to have some concern in that game. We'll talk to the weather again in that spot coming up here in a few minutes. So yeah, Lamar Jackson, he's startable. He is startable. He ranks as QB 8 among the quarterbacks left in the WalterPicks rankings. His ceiling is obviously really high. We've seen the floor in back-to-back weeks now. Derrick Henry, he's a must-start in this spot as well. Zay Flowers, I assume we're going to see some Zay Flowers start sits. He's coming off his worst game of the season by far. He had 2 catches for 6 yards against the Bengals. The Steelers have not been good against receivers. This is the second best matchup for Zay Flowers all season. But in his best matchup, back in week 3 against the Lions, he had 3 points in that game. We have not seen him score a touchdown since week 1. Guys, I've talked about this multiple times on the live. He has had a pretty tough schedule, but he has 1 end zone target. 1 end zone target this season, and it came in week 1. We haven't seen an end zone target for Zay Flowers in over 2.5 months. I mean, it's been 3 months. Just not a touchdown score. Really rough for fantasy. Mark Andrews, he signs a contract extension during this week, a 3-year contract extension. Pretty rough for Isaiah Likely's dynasty prospects. Isaiah Likely, he's coming off a massive game. He absolutely cashed for us on Thanksgiving against the Bengals. I had his alt lines over 60 yards. He did that in a single play. Had his highest target share of the season at 20%, but he's only playing half the snaps. They're rotating 3 tight ends. Kolar, Likely, and Andrews, all rotating in. I think Kolar was actually out there the first snap over Likely. But he doesn't really have a bad matchup here in the next 3 games. Definitely a high ceiling for Likely. We still have Andrews projected a little bit ahead of him because Andrews has been the touchdown score for the better part of the season. On the Steelers side of this game, I continue to wait for the big DK Metcalf game to come, and it has not come. We haven't seen a big DK Metcalf game in over 2 months. Last week, he only had 6 points, but the volume continues to be there. He's over 20% target share every single week. They're scheming him looks around the line of scrimmage. He hasn't really connected on any deep passes. He's been under 12 yards per reception now in 6 straight games. Still think there's an interesting ceiling, but it's tough to keep expecting it. After 6 straight games we've seen, 5 straight games we've seen him go under 15 fantasy points. Has not scored since week 8. The Ravens are 6-point favorites in this game, though. You got to think the Steelers are going to have to throw despite wanting to run. I mean, Mike Tomlin came out this week and said, again, they want to really lean on the run in this offense. That's definitely good for Jaylen Warren and Kenneth Gainwell, who project closer and closer every single week. Gainwell's only a few points behind Jaylen Warren's projection. We hop over to the running back ranks again. Both these guys are startable. And Kenneth Gainwell projects as one of the higher ceiling guys in the WalterPicks app because we've seen 2 big ceiling games from him. Both those games, though, Jaylen Warren did get hurt or miss time. But yeah, Kenneth Gainwell is playing over 40% of the snaps. He's going to get at least 10 touches basically every single week. He had 5 carries, 3 targets last week, only 6.5 points, in a pretty good spot against the Bills. I was a little nervous for him in that spot. The floor is low for Kenneth Gainwell, but the ceiling is at least there, both in the receiving game and the chance to score a touchdown. No one else in this team could possibly be startable. And man, I'm going to be so tilted when Adam Thielen starts outproducing DK Metcalf. This Adam Thielen just feels like the perfect Aaron Rodgers receiver. He's at the end of his career. He's really not good anymore, but Aaron Rodgers is going to force him 10 targets. He's going to get 4 end zone targets. I do think they signed Adam Thielen to use Adam Thielen ahead of Roman Wilson, ahead of Calvin Austin. And I won't be shocked to see Adam Thielen have like a real role right away here for the Steelers. We're projecting him for over 6 fantasy points. Not really on the fantasy radar, but we're projecting him to be pretty annoying for the rest of this offense for fantasy. I do like the Ravens in this spot, but man, and we're gonna have Samps on here coming up at 11:30 Eastern time to talk through the slate, and very curious to hear if he's trusting Lamar at all this week. I know there's going to be a lot of Lamar starts hit. So yeah, I'm starting Lamar in a lot of spots. I'm not starting him over Jaden Daniels, Stafford, Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, Jacoby Brissett, Pat Mahomes. And Bo Nix, Joe Burrow, you could consider. I think I actually would go with him over Daniel Jones, though, with the weather there. All right, that's the Ravens-Steelers game. Let's move to the Saints-Bucks game. This game is an 8.5-point spread at home for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. There is some possible rain in this game. But if it does rain, it's almost definitely coming in the fourth quarter. And right now it's projected to have no rain. So it's like all these Florida games, you never know exactly when the rain might hit. But I'm not concerned about this game weather-wise at all. Bucky Irving, he projects as a top 10 running back. There's very few running backs I'm more excited about than Bucky here in week 7, in week 14. Bucky had 16 points in his first game back since week 4. He got hurt in week 4, missed 2 months of the season, only played 52% of snaps, but saw 17 carries and 2 targets, finishes the top 15 running back in his first game back. Now he gets a game at home against the Saints. Not too scary of a matchup here for Bucky, and it's hard to see his snap percentage going anywhere but up. I mean, he was at 60% or above in his first 4 games. I think we see him get to 60% or above here. Again, he's going to get at least 15 carries again, and I'll just skip ahead momentarily here. One of the free player props today is this Bucky Irving rushing prop. Over 69.5 rushing yards. I'm 66% on the free player props this season. I feel very, very good about Bucky in this spot to score and Bucky in this spot to go for 100-plus rushing yards. I think he could definitely clear 100 rushing yards in this game. The Saints' run defense has been about average this season, and Bucky's efficiency wasn't amazing last week, but he did, to me, pass the eye test in his first game back. We saw Achane rip for 134 in his last game up against the Saints. We saw the Falcons combine for over 100 rushing yards. We saw a Dowdle and Blake Corum both go over 50 rushing yards on pretty low volume. Kyron Williams went over 100 rushing yards. I think Bucky's going to continue this trend here versus the Saints. They're huge favorites here as well. This is a game that I'll be stacking in DFS. Also, this game is in Tampa Bay. Again, there's possible rain at the end of the game, but this is really not one of the scary weather games on the slate. I think a pretty interesting one to stack. Chris Godwin, he had his best game of the season last week by far. I mean, not even close, really. He had 78 receiving yards. Didn't have a game with more than 26 receiving yards prior to last week, but still, he only had 3 catches. He does not have a game this season with more than 3 catches. It was his first game over 10 fantasy points. He did play 66% of the snaps. That was up big from the previous week at 36%. He still only ran 3 more routes, though. The target share was the second highest this season, 5 targets. I mean, he had a couple explosive plays in this game, but he's really not a guy I want to start still. I don't know how you feel good starting Chris Godwin right now. I'm starting guys like Luther Burden, Devon Achane in the same game. I would start over Chris Godwin. I'm pretty in on Devon Achane today. We'll talk about him in a second too. Emeka Egbuka continues to be one of these guys that is underproducing his volume every single week, and it makes him a really interesting buy low. I know we can't really trade at this point, but in DFS, I think he's really underrated. I think in props, Emeka Egbuka's alt lines overs are also pretty underrated. I mean, the target volume that he's seen at least 8 targets now in 6 straight games. He's averaging 8.4 targets per game. He's not going under 25% target shares. He had another 30% target share last week. He just hasn't done a ton with it. 4 catches, 42 yards last week, no touchdowns. He's been under 10 points in 3 straight games. We know there's a real ceiling here, though. We've seen him be a top 3 receiver twice this season. We've seen the big games. We've seen him score multiple touchdowns. We've seen him go over 100 yards. It's only a matter of time until we see another big Emeka Egbuka game. Mike Evans is close to returning, and that definitely could change the calculus here a little bit, but I continue to think Egbuka's ceiling is going a little underrated. He kind of still needs to be started in most spots, I think. Baker Mayfield, I'm sure we'll get some Baker questions on the live today. He only had 14.5 last week. I think I recall getting chirped on the live last week about how low I was on Baker Mayfield. I got him at QB 12 here today, where we have him in the WalterPicks app. Pull the QB ranks here again on both lives just to pull those up. I'm okay starting him over the guys in that Colts-Jags game. If you want to avoid the rain there, that's fine with me. Baker is still dealing with an injury. He was up to 6.9 yards per attempt. That was actually the most we've seen from him in 2 months against the Cardinals. I really think the Bucs are going to be able to lean on the run really, really successfully in this game, though. So I'm not super high on Baker. I got him at the top of tier 3 or the bottom of tier 2 of the quarterbacks today. Rachaad White, Sean Tucker, just way off the fantasy radar now that Bucky Irving is back. The Bucs defense is also pretty interesting here in this spot versus the Saints. But this is another game similar to the Dolphins-Jets game. I think there's going to be a lot of fantasy points scored in this one. Juwan Johnson is a really good start at tight end. Probably the most underrated tight end in fantasy, I think I would argue, is Juwan Johnson. He's got 11 catches for almost 100 yards in his last 2 games. Hasn't scored since week 10, but it's hard to find this type of floor at the tight end position. He's got at least 8.9 points now in 6 consecutive games, back-to-back games where you're locking in at least 9 points at tight end. That's got to be worth something in most leagues. He had a 27% target share last week, 9 targets. We were on his receptions prop. He fell just below the yards prop. Unfortunately, I think it was at 41.5, 42.5 or something. He had 39, but had another 5 catches in this game. I believe he actually cashed this too because of the onside kick for the Saints. We got a little fortunate in the fourth quarter last week with some of these props. But they're 8-point underdogs in this game against the Bucs. The Bucs are about average versus tight ends. I mean, again, it's like another floor of 9 points, it feels like, for Juwan Johnson in this spot. Chris Olave came into this game questionable. He will play today. Came in with a back injury. Makes him a must start. I mean, if he's playing, you kind of have to start him. His floor is also extremely high. He's 5th in targets per game in the NFL this season. There's very few guys seeing the target volume that Olave is seeing. It's Jamar, Drake London, Rashee Rice, Puka Nacua, then it's Olave. He has more targets per game than JSN, Amon-Ra, Lamb, and Pickens. So yeah, you kind of have to start him. Devon Neal and Devon Achane, 2 sleepers for me this week. I think I put them both on the sleeper list. Yeah, I have Achane on there. I guess Devon Neal is not in sleeper category anymore. But I do like Devon Achane this week as well. We were on Devon Achane last week, 82% snap share. It went up from 74% the previous week. I mean, he's in a workhorse role right now. Only saw 52% of the carries, but still, he's going to be locked in for at least 15 touches in this game. He continues to get targets too. He had a 70% route share in back-to-back games. He's got 10 targets in his last 2 games. And he does not have a bad matchup the rest of the season. You could do much, much worse than Devon Neal here in week 14. Wide receivers, yeah, I got you. With the receivers, let's talk through Devon Achane because I really want to force Devon Achane this week. I really do. I don't think last week was a fluke. And part of the reason I want to force it too is like we do have a previous sample size. Before I get to last week, let's just talk about rookie season Devon Achane because rookie season Devon Achane, he went over 10 points in half his games. As a rookie, playing an average of 50% of the snaps, he goes over 10 points in half of his rookie games on a Broncos offense where he was not the number 1 guy. Like he was not bad as a rookie. We saw some big games from him. As a rookie, he gets traded to the Saints in his first game with I guess his third game actually with a real role, but first game where he was over 16% of the targets. He's got now 15 targets in back-to-back games. He goes with the wide receiver 7 last week, 8 catches, 93 yards and a touchdown against the Dolphins. He has a really good matchup here against the pass funnel Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense. They're 8-point underdogs. Olave's coming in with a back injury. There's no Kamara. I mean, I think Devon Achane could match what he did last week, 23 points. I think he could legit go 25-plus points in this game. He only had a 24% target share. That's nothing crazy. He's going to go over 20% again this week, I think. Our median projection for him right now has him at 17% target share. But in PPR leagues, I'm kind of forcing Achane today. I'm strongly considering him over DK Metcalf in one of my high-stakes leagues today. That's kind of where I'm at with Devon Achane. I like him as a sleeper this week. I'd play him over Josh Downs, Troy Franklin, Alec Pierce, some of those guys we have ahead in the ranks right now. I don't think I'd play him over Luther Burden. Yeah, we have DK Metcalf ahead. It's a tough call for sure, but I like Devon Achane this week in the matchup and the role that he's in right now. He's going to play over 80% of the snaps. I think he's hitting a 20% target share in this game, and I think the Saints are going to have to throw a lot. I will be trotting out some Tyler Shuck stacks here with the Shuck Jawan Achane stack in DFS this week. You definitely could explore an Olave stack too. Bucs are the 3rd best matchup for quarterbacks this season. We just saw Shuck throw 2 touchdowns. He's been over 230 yards in back-to-back games. He's throwing the volume, over 38 pass attempts in back-to-back games, or at least 38 in back-to-back games. He's got 56 completions in his last 2 games. This offense, this whole season, has just been like really well schemed, really well coached. They're running a ton of plays, and they're able to sustain drives. I think Tyler Shuck is in play in DFS this week at his price. Kind of an interesting sleeper for sure. We saw Brissett, Stafford, Josh Allen, and Drake May, all 3 MVP candidates, and then Brissett all go over 19 points, 3 straight games. They've allowed 10 touchdowns and at least 207 total yards per game. 10 total touchdowns and 270-plus yards per game the Bucs have allowed in 4 straight games. They have played some pretty good QBs here. But Josh Allen went for 45 points versus Bucs defense. All right, that's the Saints-Bucs game. Didn't expect to talk about that game for as long as I just did, but there's a lot of fantasy relevant pieces here in this game. Let's jump to this Colts-Jags game. I see a ton of questions about this game in the chat. I'm sure this is going to be one of the main games we talk about on the live today. And before I jump to the game, this is a good time, I think, to jump to the Weatherman Sam report of the day. Let me just jump to this really quickly because there is some weather today that's going to be talked about. It's going to matter. You want to be aware of. So let me just talk through it. So there's going to be moderate snow all game in the Bengals at Bills game. A legit snow game here. I think the projection was 1 to 3 inches of snow during the game. It's going to snow before the game as well. 1 to 3 inches of snow, guys. That's not that much snow, but it is going to be cold in Buffalo. So the snow is probably going to stick. I do think the snow here will affect the game. But I don't think it's like one of these environments where the offenses won't be able to throw or produce. And this actually might shape up to be one of those situations where it actually benefits certain players on offense, certain guys like Josh Allen and James Cook, certain guys like Jamar Chase and Chase Brown potentially. There's some players in the right snow environment, offensively, they actually have an advantage over the defense because it's just harder to cut and react to the offensive players. We could see a situation like that. There's no wind across all of the weather today. Seeing some people ask for tight end ranks. I'll jump over to the tight end ranks here as I talk through the Weatherman Sam report of the day. So there's going to be a legit snow game here in Buffalo. We'll talk about that game coming up in a second. The Titans at Browns game, also a snow game, but less snow than that Bengals at Bills game. Maximum 1 inch in that game, and it's probably not going to stick. Like, it's going to look like a snow game, but it's not going to feel to the players much like a snow game, in my opinion. Like, really not much to be worried about there. I think the real worry there in that game is you got the most sacked QB in the NFL going against a guy who's about to break the all-time single-season sack record. I mean, this is the worst possible matchup for the Tennessee Titans. So you add any element on top of that, it's going to be pretty rough, I think, for Cam Ward and the Titans today. We also have extremely heavy rain in the Colts at Jags game, probably the entire game. So extreme heavy rain, Colts at Jags, whole game. It's going to be pouring rain. Again, I'm not like full panic about that, but it does make me a tiny bit nervous about the passing attack on both of these offenses. Like, I'm willing to use this as a tiebreaker for some of these quarterbacks around Daniel Jones and Trevor Lawrence. I'm willing to consider a guy like Jawan Johnson over Brenton Strange. We have Brenton Strange ranked really, really high today. There's no Parker Washington for the Jags. He ranks as tight end 3 right next to Tyler Warren in that same game. Both these tight ends, I'm okay being a little bit nervous about them with the rain, but I'm not calling them must benches. Like, this is not weather that's going to be impossible to throw it. It's really not. Like, it is going to be possible to throw. There's not wind in play here. It's just going to be wet. There's also possible rain in that Saints at Bucs game. I already mentioned that. I'm not concerned about that one at all. But overall, the main takeaway for me with across all this weather, I'm not overly concerned in any of these spots. And I actually think in some of these spots, like that Bengals at Bills game, it might actually benefit the offense more than the defense in the right snow environment. And there's no wind. And wind is the most difficult thing for passing in the NFL. These are professional NFL players. There's no statistical evidence that really any of this type of weather negatively impacts offensive performance. The extremes of any weather can impact offensive performance. The only extreme, though, that we're getting today potentially is the rain in that Colts-Jags game. Like, this is not an extreme snow game. It's just some moderate snow, some consistent snow throughout the game, potentially sticking to the field a little bit. So, yeah, I think people are going to overreact just in general to the weather here in Week 14. I think the sharp thing to do today is to mostly ignore the weather in your decisions. But Colts at Jags game is the one exception where I'm okay using it as a tiebreaker. That's my general thoughts here for Weatherman Sam. A very interesting weather slate for sure. All right, so going back to this Colts-Jags game, obviously we're starting Jonathan Taylor. The Colts defense is in play with the weather report especially. Daniel Jones, he ranks as QB4. I don't know if I'm going to trot him out there, though, over Jalen Hurts, over Jacoby Brissett, even over Pat Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Bo Nix, Joe Burrow. I probably start all those guys over him with the weather report today. We haven't seen him go over 20 points in 4 straight games. The matchup is good here for Daniel Jones, but he's still dealing with that fibula injury. He's not going to be running. He had 1 rushing yard last week. I mean, there's almost no chance of rushing touchdown for Daniel Jones. I'd probably move him, honestly, to the top of tier 3. I think him versus those types is probably more so where he should be in consideration. Tyler Warren, he's up there in the top of tier 3, I believe, at tight end. Because there's 2 guys in their own tiers. Trey McBride is in his own tier today. Trey McBride projects better than almost every receiver today. His prop lines are in the mid-70s with no Marvin Harrison Jr., no Greg Dortch for the Arizona Cardinals. We'll get to that game coming up in a second. Tyler Warren has such a good matchup here versus the Jags, though. I don't think I'm going to bench him even with the rain. I don't think I'm benching him. I think I'd be more inclined to bench Brenton Strange. I actually would play Tyler Warren, I think, over Strange. We have them projected super close. But the matchup for Warren here is about as good as it gets. Other than the Bengals, I mean, the Jags have been horrible against tight ends. We're going to get to the chat, I promise, here coming up in a couple minutes. Here we go. Lamar or Jaden Daniels. Yeah, I already talked about that Ravens game. I am going Jaden Daniels over Lamar. I win, I make playoffs. Yeah, we're calling this win and in. Guys, if you got a win and in situation, you got to lead off your comment with that. Say win and in, and then put the rest of the comment. Again, we're going to get to hundreds of comments on the live today. Excuse me. Start Tyrod or Tua. Yeah, I'd go Tyrod. I think over Tua. BTJ or Shakir at flex. Starting Higgins and Kincaid and Snow already. Yeah, I'd go BTJ there. And last, Corum, Carter, Tootin at running back 2. Yeah, I'd probably lean Corum, then Tootin, then Carter is how I would play it. I don't think it's worth holding on to Pollard. No. I have him actually in the free player props day. He's under. We're going to talk through that here coming up in a second. I'm playing Jaden Daniels, guys, in his first game back. I'm a little scared he's not going to run a lot. We'll talk about that game here in a second. Pull the QB ranks here again. I've seen a bunch of QB questions. All right, let's get to the Jag side of this game. So Pittman, he's a start as well. Alec Pierce continues to be like one of the most underrated receivers in the NFL. If you've been listening to this live stream this season, you're in the know on that. It's not surprising to you when you see Alec Pierce catching these deep passes every single week. He had another 18 points last week against the Houston Texans. Really tough matchup. He's playing 96% of the snaps. I mean, he's startable. The weather report's not great for him. So you could look another way this week. I think that's fine. But he's like pretty firmly ahead of Josh Downs at this point for fantasy and like real NFL purposes too. Josh Downs is really not startable right now. He's like the 5th guy in this offense. All right, going on to the Jaguars side of this game, Jacoby Myers projects so strong. 14.1 point projection. Wide receiver 6 remaining this week. He had 6 for 90 and a touchdown. We were in on Jacoby last week. Only had 6 targets, but caught all 6 of them for 90 yards and a touchdown. This is a good matchup on paper for him too. Again, the rain makes me a bit more nervous for him. But I still think he's a start this week. I still do think he's a start. And the Jags are big underdogs in this game. Actually, not that big. Only 1.5 point underdogs in this game. The game still is a 45.5 point total as well. It opened at a 50 point total, so it's down 5 points. Not a ton, though, in the grand scheme of things. They will be able to throw in the heavy rain. Guys, they can throw in the rain. So I think Jacoby Myers still a start. Brian Thomas Jr., we already saw a start sit with him. I pulled up earlier. He's been such a brutal start sit all season. There was someone in the Discord this morning talking through. They're in second to last place. And, of course, their first pick was none other than Brian Thomas Jr. He might have been the worst first-round pick of the season. And there's been some pretty bad round 1 and round 2 picks. He might have been the worst possible one. Because Brian Thomas Jr. all season, you feel like you got to start him. And all season, he's disappointing. He missed 3 games, but like the worst, you'd rather have a guy like this miss games than be playing and not producing in your starting lineup. He's been like a consistent 10 points like all season. Only 4.8 last week on 75% of the snaps in his first game back. Good matchup on paper for him here too, but man, I mean, the floor is 6 points and the ceiling, I still think there's a real ceiling. But at this point, Jacoby Myers is projecting like confidently over. So you can't feel great about it. Bashaw Tootin disappointed last week, but he did get in the end zone again. They clearly like Bashaw Tootin around the goal line. You can understand why. He's been pretty effective in that spot. But he only played 29% of snaps. Last week, 8 carries. And I think, how many of those came in the red zone? Yeah, 3 of them came in the red zone. Averaged only 2.1 yards per carry. But part of that's because he's getting so many goal line carries. He's not a guy I prefer to start. I would play Blake Corum over Bashaw Tootin. I would. Zabro for show. Yeah, Zay Flowers definitely can be started in close start sits today. I'm fine with that. Hop back over to the wide receiver ranks here. Seeing a lot of wide receiver questions. Shout out to every single one of you in this live stream today. I appreciate you all. Week 14, man, it is the best day of the week. We're like midway through this game by game section of the live stream. Talk through the Jags Colts game, which is going to have some heavy rain. The more I think about it, the more I don't want to overreact to the heavy rain, though. Travis Etienne, he's a start here as well. Kind of tough with Bashaw Tutin stealing goal line touches, but still, he's been at least 15 points in 4 of his last 5. Disappointing game last week against the Titans. 2.3 yards per carry. Titans' run defense was good last week. I think they could pull off the upset here versus the Browns this week. Definitely possible. We'll talk about that in a second. But yeah, I do like Travis Etienne as a start still this week against the Colts. And I do like the Jags as underdogs at home in this spot too. I like the Jets and the Jags as home underdogs today. I think the Jets are just as good as the Dolphins. Jags might be just as good as the Colts too. I've been kind of a non-believer in the Colts, I feel like, all season. People were talking about them as a Super Bowl contender. Both these teams are 8-4. Both the Jags and the Colts, same record, 8-4. Big game here for the division. Tennessee Titans going into Cleveland. Let's talk through this game. This defense-offense matchup is absolutely brutal. The Titans defense, though, played pretty well last week, and I don't have much faith in the Browns offense either. But the Titans, they're up against like the number 1 defensive line in the NFL, maybe number 2 behind the Texans. They're going up against Myles Garrett, who's going to break the all-time single-season sack record. Cam Ward has been a sacked machine this season. I mean, just take sacks like no other. He's averaging 4 sacks per game. He's had at least 3 sacks basically every single game this season. He's the most sacked QB in the league, I think by like a decent margin. After a Week 12 game where he was the QB4 in fantasy, he came back down to earth last week against the Jags, and he's obviously well off the radar in this spot. There's really not a single Tennessee Titans player you're starting in fantasy today that you feel good about. Tony Pollard projects behind Tajay Spears, who continues to have a pretty good receiving role. He's not the worst desperation play at running back. He's got 15 catches in his last 3 games combined, but he's totaled 6 rushing yards. He had -1 rushing yards last week. Spears has totaled 6 total rushing yards. He's probably not going to get past that here against the Browns either. He only has 5 carries his last 2 games. He's got more catches and targets than carries. Tony Pollard can't be started against the Browns. He's been under 10 points now in 5 straight games. He did have 60 rushing yards against the Jags last week on 10 carries. Kind of efficient there against the Jags, but this is going to be a very one-dimensional offense for the Titans. It's not going to go well against the Browns. Shamir Adike, Alec Imanor, these are the top 2 receivers for the Titans today. There's not much to talk about here. I'm going to move on. Gunnar Helm continues to be kind of an interesting sleeper. If you're punting tight end, I don't hate it in DFS. I think it's under 3K on DraftKings today, but that's just a pure punt. And then on the Brown side of the game, Judkins projects decently. Though again, the Titans' run defense was pretty good last week. Tutin did score, but they held the Jaguars to under 50 rushing yards. One of the worst rushing yard games of the season. Both Etienne and Tutin were under 2.5 yards per carry last week against this Titans defense, which previously had not been very good. They held Kenneth Walker and Sharp to decent rushing totals, but they both were over 5.5 yards per carry. Pretty big range of outcomes here for Judkins, but he did catch way more passes than I expected last week. He had 3 catches last week. After me talking about him having absolutely no receiving role, he's playing 74% of the snaps, had a 13% target share. That was his highest of the season. He had 23 carries, 3 targets, 26 opportunities, scored 16 points with no touchdown. Back-to-back games, basically with 16 plus for Judkins. He's a start here versus the Titans. Harold Bannon is an interesting guy for fantasy too. He did have 11 points last week, but he scored Probably not going to score most weeks, but he did play 92% of the snaps, second straight game over 90% snap share. He's had 4, 5, 6 straight games now over 21%, over 20% at least of the targets. He was the primary go-to guy for Shedeur last week. But yeah, really not a must-start still. And Shedeur, he's not a start. Jerry Jeudy got into arguments with Shedeur last game. He's one game all season over 12 points. 3 straight games now under 6. He's well off the radar. He's like leading the NFL, I still think, in routes too. He's still number 1 in routes. Now he's 7th in routes. His routes have gone down a little bit. I wouldn't be shocked to see this game be pretty close though, between the Browns and the Titans, and it's not projected to be here very close. Browns are 4.5-point favorites at home in this one. Again, there's going to be some snow in this game. This was a part of the Weatherman Sam report here. Light snow, though. It's light snow. It's really not going to impact like anything, I don't think. Go to the running back ranks. Yeah, I got you, the running back ranks. Shout out to every one of you in this live stream with me, battling through flu-like symptoms here for week 14, the final week of the fantasy regular season. Let me know in your comments if it's a win and in situation. Let me know if you're winning in. Tight end is the toughest. Yeah, there's some tough tight end starts today for sure. I am still starting Jacoby today in the rain. Just saw a comment asking about that. We're going to get to hundreds and hundreds of comments here coming up momentarily. Let's get to this Washington Commanders Vikings game. So we've talked about a bunch of the weather games already. We'll get to that Bills game coming up here in a couple games. But we talked about the Jags and the Colts game that's going to have some heavy rain. We talked about this Browns Titans game that's going to have some light snow. But then you hop to this game, the Washington Commanders versus the Vikings, and we're in a dome here. We got a dome game, a couple of dome games we'll talk through here. Jaden Daniels is back. Jaden Daniels had a pretty rough injury, fractured his elbow in his non-throwing arm. Similar to Jackson Dart, we talked through this with Jackson Dart last week. You got to be a little bit worried that he's not going to run as much as he had been running. Jaden Daniels leads the NFL, guys, among quarterbacks in both rush share and rush attempts per game. He's at 9 rush attempts per game. Hard to see him getting to 9 coming back from a fractured elbow, which is pretty rough for fantasy. But Jaden Daniels is an elite passer as well. He also, I have some faith in him just being a smart enough QB to pick the right spots to run, not put himself in harm's way. He's really never had a problem with that, even though like the main knock on Jaden Daniels coming into the NFL was that he took big hits. That was the only knock. It was the only negative thing people were saying about him, which I thought was a bit ridiculous at the time. It hasn't really been a problem for him for most of his career so far. So yeah, I'm starting Jaden Daniels today. Like there's really not many QBs I'm going to start over Jaden Daniels. It's really just Josh Allen and Matt Stafford, and that's it. I'm starting Jaden Daniels over Lamar. I'm starting him over Daniel Jones, Jalen Hurts, Jacoby Brissett, Mahomes. I'm starting Jaden Daniels this week. The Vikings haven't been a great matchup for quarterbacks this season. We got Terry McLaurin back. We got a healthy Deebo Samuel. We got a game environment in a dome with some other weather this week. And the Commanders are only 1.5-point favorites here versus the Vikings. And the Commanders defense, guys, is bad. This might be the worst defense in the NFL right now. I think they're at least bottom 3 in the NFL. I think even J.J. McCarthy led Vikings are going to be able to score here versus the Commanders in week 14. That's great news for Jaden Daniels too. You got a dome game, good game environment. The over-under here in this game is at 43.5. I'd like the over there. But yeah, with McLaurin back, I was wrong about McLaurin last week, as I'm going to be wrong sometimes. I'm going to be wrong a lot. I'm just trying to be more right than I am wrong here with these fantasy football live streams and takes. That's just how it goes. I understand it. I'm going to take the L's. I'm not going to hide from the L's. And McLaurin was a big L for me last week on this live stream. I thought he was a sit. I've tended in the past to lean towards sitting these guys in their first games back. That was a mistake here against the Broncos. He goes 7 for 96 and a touchdown with Marcus Mariota. Only played half the snaps. Saw 14 targets, 31% target share, 221 air yards for McLaurin last week. And he looked great, man. He looks explosive, played really, really well. Had to be super impressed with that performance from McLaurin on Monday Night Football last week. I think that was Monday Night Football last week. So yeah, I feel really good about McLaurin here. Even a difficult matchup versus the Vikings with Jaden Daniels back, you got to be starting Terry McLaurin. I think you got to be starting Jaden Daniels as well. And Debo, he's a top 20 receiver left too. He can be started. And then this whole receiver rotation is just a complete avoid for me in fantasy. Commanders rank as defense 5, which I'm honestly pretty skeptical of. I get the Vikings have struggled, and I honestly nailed this Vikings game last week. You know, we had Samps come on, and a lot of people were saying similar to what Samps was saying. They wanted to see Max Brosmer. Give Max Brosmer a chance. Can't be worse. It couldn't be worse than JJ McCarthy. Well, guys, it can always be worse. It can always be worse in the NFL. And we saw it be much worse still from JJ McCarthy to Max Brosmer. Max Brosmer, by the way, who was never a good college quarterback. We talked about that on the live. He was under 30th percentile in every meaningful college quarterback stat. I don't know why we would think he would have any hope in the NFL, even in one of the best QB environments in the league. But now we have JJ McCarthy coming back. JJ McCarthy's been atrocious this season. I get it. We have seen a couple games over 16 points. Those games were, okay for fantasy. They still weren't good in real NFL terms. He's been under 6 yards per attempt each of his last 4 games. He's a 54% completion percentage. He's still better than Max Brosmer, and he still has one of the best matchups you could ask for here in Week 14. The rest of season schedule here for the Vikings guys is unreal. They get the Commanders, Cowboys, Giants, Lions. They have maybe the 4 best matchups for quarterbacks in passing attacks the rest of the season. Like, they have 4 of the best 10, at least 4 of the best 10 matchups here on paper for the Vikings. They didn't have the easiest matchups in all of these bad JJ McCarthy games. I'm very in on Justin Jefferson today. I think Justin Jefferson smashes today. I think he's going to finish as a top 5 wide receiver this week. I'm in on JJ. He's going to be one of the free player props for me today, over 65.5 receiving yards. Say what you want about JJ McCarthy being bad. There isn't a player on the Commanders that can stop Justin Jefferson. And I think the goal here for JJ McCarthy in Week 14 is going to be pretty clear. It's going to be to feed Justin Jefferson as much as humanly possible. See, I'm in on the Vikings passing attack today. I'm going to be playing some JJ McCarthy, Justin Jefferson stacks in DFS. I think no one's going to be playing those. The matchup is very good. So yeah, I think we might see a JJ McCarthy bounce back here in Week 14. I'm willing to risk some of my own dollars on that. I still don't want to start TJ Hawkinson. I still don't want to start Jordan Addison. I'm really only of faith here in Justin Jefferson. Aaron Jones, he hurt his shoulder last week. Thought he was going to miss this week potentially. He only ended up playing 37% of snaps. Hurt his shoulder, I think, in the first half of that game. Still had 4 catches, which I did talk about. That matchup versus the Seahawks has been really good for receiving for the running backs. But finishes with 4.5 points. Now he has a pretty good matchup versus the Commanders, so he's in play. Yeah, he's in play. Wide receiver rankings, I got you. Gainwell, I think you should probably play over Corum. So Aaron Jones is startable. Justin Jefferson, I think, is a must start. I really think you got to start Justin Jefferson against the Commanders. This is a very, very good matchup here versus the Commanders. Maybe they're able to successfully lean on the run in this spot. I mean, we've seen wide receivers just smashing this team. Every good receiver has gone over 20 points. Every good receiver has gone over 80 yards. So yeah, I'm expecting a Justin Jefferson bounce back here this game and probably down the stretch of the season here with this schedule. I'm willing to go schedule over JJ McCarthy being terrible. Vikings are 1.5 point underdogs at home in a dome against one of the worst defenses in the NFL. The Seahawks travel to Atlanta, another dome game here. Falcons are 6.5 point underdogs in this game. The Falcons have played to their level of competition for most of the season. They lose to the Panthers, but then they beat the Bills, for example. I think this game is going to actually end up being pretty close. The Seahawks defense does match up pretty well against this Falcons offense. Kirk Cousins definitely will be under some pressure in this game. But we talked about it last week with Aaron Jones. As good as the Seahawks defense has been, the one pain point for them has been allowing receiving work to the running backs. I mean, Bijan could go for 100 receiving yards today. We saw Christian McCaffrey had 9 for 73. Jalen Warren had 86 receiving yards against them. They're allowing like at least 3 catches every single game. 6 catches for 40 yards per game allowed to running backs. Bijan's locked in as a elite option. Kyle Pitts is also a really intriguing option this week in a somewhat difficult tight end week. Let me hop over to the tight end ranks here in both lives. Shout out to everyone in the live right now, by the way. We're just getting started here. We're almost through the game-by-game section of the live. I think we're going to get to tons and tons of start sits. But Kyle Pitts is a tough guy to bench right now, especially in this matchup versus the Seahawks. There's no Drake London again this week for the Atlanta Falcons. And the Seahawks' one defense weakness has been the tight end position. They're allowing 7 catches for 70 yards per game. Very few defenses have been worse. TJ Hawkinson went 6 for 59. I think that was his best game of the season, receptions-wise. Gunnar Helmet, 6 catches the week before that. So back-to-back weeks, they've allowed 6 catches to tight ends. Back-to-back weeks, they've allowed a top 12 tight end performance without allowing a touchdown. I mean, that's exactly what you want at the tight end position. They did play Trey McBride twice, which is certainly hurting their numbers here. But yeah, Kyle Pitts is locked in for like a very, very meaningful role. He had 7 catches for 82 yards last week, was the tight end 5 without a touchdown. We haven't seen him score since week 4. Man. It's been a problem for him his whole career in terms of scoring touchdowns. But yeah, he's seen back-to-back 25% target shares with Kirk Cousins. And now he's the best matchup he's had in the last few games. So yeah, Kyle Pitts is really a must start. I would not knock you for starting Kyle Pitts over Tyler Warren, over Brenton Strange. With the rain there, we do have them all projected pretty close together, like 0.2 points apart. They're all in tier 3 for me, only behind Bowers and Trey McBride. Darnell Mooney is going to be in some start sits again this week. He's not a horrible desperation play because he's playing 95% of the snaps. Drake London's out again, but he only had 16% target share last week. We have him projected for slightly above that this week because they are big underdogs. They're 6-point underdogs at home, 6.5-point underdogs at home here versus the Seahawks. They should have to throw at least a little bit. I'm forced to start Mooney in one of my leagues where I have Drake London in a bunch of buys. This week, I think you could do worse. You probably can find better out there too. Like I would start A.D. Mitchell over him. I would start John Mechie over him. I would start Devon Bailey over him too. That is Darnell Mooney there. Hop over to the must starts, must benches here. Start Pitts, Monangai, or Burden. Yeah, I'd go Burden over Pitts. Oh, God, it's close, actually. Man, that is close. Pitts is going to project better than Burden. But I think I honestly probably would go, oh, God, Pitts does have a good spot. We just talked through this Pitts spot. Man, maybe it does have to be Kyle Pitts there. Let's jump to that Bears-Packers game. Then we're going to get Bengals Bills game next. So the Bears are playing in Green Bay today. There's no real weather concern in this game. It is going to be cold. There's no Roma Dunze dealing with a foot injury. They're calling it week-to-week foot injury. Really rough timing for fantasy for that Roma Dunze injury. He's been, a tale of 2 seasons for Dunze. First month, he was absolutely balling, top 10 wide receiver. In the next 2 months, absolutely atrocious. Not a guy you want to start basically any given week. In the last 2 months, he's been under 10 points per game. First month, he was like 16 points per game. Next 2 months, he's like 7 points per game. Really rough. And now he's out at least 1 game here heading into the fantasy playoffs. Really, really rough turn of events there for Dunze. But that's huge for the rest of this offense because this is a pretty spread out offense with Dunze, Loveland, the 2 running backs, DJ Moore, and Luther Burden. And you got Cole Kmet mixing in too. And sometimes Zacchaeus is getting run as well. And now you take Roma Dunze out. That puts Zacchaeus into the wide receiver 3 role, which he was playing ahead of Burden for most of the season. DJ Moore and Burden, they stepped up at the wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2 roles. I would not be surprised to see Luther Burden outscore DJ Moore. We have them projected super close this week. Pull up the wide receiver ranks here again. We have them really, really close in the projections. 0.1 points apart. I personally prefer Luther Burden over DJ Moore. He's been more efficient this season. We pulled the efficiency metrics here for Luther Burden. He's at 2.4 yards per out run now with a larger sample size, and he's up there with some really strong players. He's wide receiver 12 in yards per out run this season. Absolutely insane to see JSN still over 4, by the way. At this point in the season, over 4 yards per reception. I feel like I talk about it every live. It's just absolutely ridiculous stuff. We've seen at least 3 catches now in 4 straight games for Luther Burden. He only played 50% of the snaps, too. Like, he's still been only at 50% of the snaps. We're going to see the largest snap percentage of the season for Burden with Rome Odunze out, I expect. We could see his first game over 20% target share as well. The matchup's not great against the Packers, but I am pretty excited for the ceiling for Luther Burden this week. I am starting him in a lot of spots. Colston Loveland also could benefit from this Rome Odunze injury as well. He's also had at least 3 catches now in 7 straight games for Colston Loveland. He's been more involved than Luther Burden over the last 2 months. I mean, one of these 2 guys, one of these 2 rookies is probably going to have a ceiling game here against the Packers. The running back situation is also really interesting for fantasy because they both are coming off huge games against the Eagles. Swift was the running back 3 in the revenge game against the Eagles last week, went for 125 rushing yards and a touchdown, only 1 catch. The receiving role is like kind of vanished. For DeAndre Swift, he has 2 catches in his last 3 games, but he still was the running back 3 last week. But Monungai played well also. He was the running back 8. He had 130 rushing yards and a touchdown, no catches. They're in like an even split here. And the matchup's not amazing versus the Packers. We have seen some success. I believe it was Rico Dowdle that smashed this Packers run defense like a month back now. Yeah, Dowdle went for 130 and 2. But they held Gibbs and Monty under 13 points. Tracy and Singletary, they both went over 17, though, a couple weeks back. Vikings running backs didn't do much. We've seen kind of inconsistent run defense from the Packers this season. But this Bears rushing attack has been just balling. I mean, the rushing attack for the Bears has been borderline unstoppable for multiple weeks now. DeAndre Swift has at least 80 rushing yards in 3 of his last 4 games. So they're both startable, but the fact that they're splitting work has them projecting pretty low. Let me hop back over to the running back ranks here. They're both startable, and they're like still both kind of sketchy starts at the same time. But here in week 14 with a bunch of bye weeks, you could do worse. They're both running back 2s, like back-end running back 2s with running back 1 ceilings. And DJ Moore, he's startable here too. A lot of startable pieces. I think at least one of these receivers, Loveland, DJ Moore, and Burden, is going to smash, go over 20 points. My money's on Burden. Loveland's maybe the safest bet, and DJ Moore has a ceiling too. Again, all that's just because Rome Odunze's out. He's going to consolidate the target share here a bit. Caleb Williams, I have as a bench this week. He only had 11 points last week. He's now been under 10.5 points or under 11 points in 2 of his last 3 games. And part of it's the rushing attack been so successful. In 3 of his last 5, though, he's over 20 points. This game's in Green Bay. Doesn't have more than 20 completions in 3 straight games. That game against the Eagles, too, there was some wind in that game that affected the play calling a bit. I do like the Bears, though, as 6.5-point underdogs. A bunch of underdogs I'm calling out today. I like the Bears as underdogs today. I think they're very capable of winning this game. This is a huge game in the division, by the way. Bears are 9-3. Packers are 8-3. I also like the Falcons as 6.5-point underdogs today. I like the Vikings as 1.5-point underdogs today. I like the Titans as 4.5-point underdogs today. I like the Jags as 1.5-point underdogs, and I liked the Jets as 2.5-point underdogs too. Most of the underdogs I think are in play today. We've seen a lot of underdogs succeed this season as well. Pull up my favorite touchdown scores here on the YouTube live. I've seen some people ask for that. We're gonna get to the free player props here coming up in a second too, but my favorite TD scores, that says week 13, my bad. My favorite TD scores, we've been hitting these at over a 50% clip over the last month. And these are mostly plus odds plays that I'm giving here on the favorite TD scores on the YouTube live. If you're watching live on TikTok, by the way, come over to the YouTube live. Link is right in the TikTok bio. Get a lot better of a viewing experience on YouTube. I can share screen to the WalterPicks app. I can pull up comments. When we get to the 100 of the start sits, we'll answer on the live. Coming up momentarily. Link to that is in the TikTok bio. All right, let's get to this Bills-Bengals game. It has to be one of the most exciting games of the week. The Bengals are not statistically out of it yet from the NFL playoffs. Joe Burrow is back. And the Bengals are very capable of winning this game. I like them as underdogs too. They're 6-point underdogs in Buffalo here. There is going to be snow in this game. This is the heaviest snow game of the day. There's 2 snow games. This game and the Browns-Titans game. But the Browns-Titans game is like a third total of the snow of this game. This game's projected to be 1 to 3 inches of snow. And that Titans-Browns game is projected to be up to 1 inch of snow. It's also going to be colder in this game than the Browns game, which means it's more likely the snow sticks onto the field. But the amount of snow here, the lack of wind here might actually benefit offense more than defense. It's very possible for guys like Josh Allen and James Cook, who are the QB1 and running back 2 respectively in the ranks left on this week, to really be unstoppable in this type of environment, on top of playing a really bad defense as it is. I mean, I don't know how Josh Allen gets stopped. I really think James Cook could be in for an all-time game today as well. He projects behind Devon Achane, but I think there's a pretty good argument to put James Cook ahead of Devon Achane. The Bengals are not going to stop James Cook in a normal game environment. It's possible the snow makes it even more difficult. He had 144 rushing yards versus the Steelers, 116 versus the Texans. He's at 102 rushing yards per game this season. Is James Cook the only running back with more, and he only has 4 more per game is Jonathan Taylor. I think after this week, guys, James Cook's going to be leading the NFL in rushing yards per game. We have him projected for 119 rushing yards. His props are very interesting. I think he's like in the 90s in his rushing prop, and I still like the over there. Dalton Kincaid is projected to be back, and so he has to be very strongly considered in your starting lineup. We hop over to the tight end ranks again. But one of the most glaring defense stats of the season is the Bengals versus tight ends. Like, I don't know how, if you are tuned into this live, like you know this already. Tight ends against the Bengals, they rank as like wide receiver 6 on the season. 7.2 catches, 93 receiving yards, and over a touchdown per game. They're allowing 23 points per game to tight ends. Like, if you just took the top tight end against the Bengals each week, they're like a top 10 fantasy player. Dalton Kincaid, the one thing I'm scared of with Dalton Kincaid is the Schefter report for Kincaid saying he was going to play. It said he plans to try to play. That was the framing. That was the verbiage with Kincaid. That was not the verbiage for all the questionable players today. Like, it wasn't Chris Olave was not plans to try to play. There's no Chris Olave is playing. For Kincaid, it was plans to try to play. Just like a little scared about him not actually being full strength with a hamstring and knee injury. But man, if he gets his normal role in the game against the Bengals, you're going to want to start Kincaid. We got him projected for 61 receiving yards in his normal role today. That's tight end 6. And yeah, I'm okay starting him over Strange and Tyler Warren. If you're scared about the rain, I'm more scared about probably the heavy rain than I am for the snow with Kincaid in this matchup versus the Bengals. It's like the Bengals are trying to allow tight ends to succeed. That's how crazy bad they've been against tight ends. Shakir's in play. I saw some start sits already with Shakir. He only had 1 point in a pretty good matchup against the Steelers last week, but he had 8 catches, 110 the week before that. Keon Coleman was back last week, and he did score a touchdown, but only 2 catches, played 44% of the snaps. All of these receivers are rotating. Brandon Cooks, Gabe Davis, Tyrell Shavers, Keon Coleman all play kind of similar roles. Shakir's in a more unique role. Kincaid being back is not great for Shakir, though. It's really Josh Allen, James Cook, and Kincaid that you want on the Bills side. On the Bengals side of this game, I kind of want to force it with Joe Burrow today. I talked about forcing it with Devon Achane earlier. I'm forcing it with him in a few spots this week, too. I feel pretty good about Devon Achane. You'll find him in my DraftKings lineup as well. I think his props, Bailey's props, interesting too. But Joe Burrow, he's down at QB 10 for us in the QB ranks, QB 11 even in the QB ranks among the quarterbacks left. The Bills have been pretty good versus quarterbacks this season, allowing just 13 points per game. We haven't seen a QB go over 20 points versus the Bills since week 1. Feels like a lifetime ago, that game. Lamar Jackson, the normal Lamar Jackson in that spot. And it's not like they played horrible QBs. They played Baker, Pat Mahomes, Drake May. None of these guys have been over 20 points. I still kind of want to force it, though, with Burrow. He didn't play great in his first game back. He still had 19 points, 261 passing yards, 2 TDs. He threw the ball 46 times. And the Bengals are 6-point underdogs in this game. This is a playoff game for Joe Burrow. And again, I think this really could be an environment where the snow helps the offense more than the defense. So part of me does want to force it with Joe Burrow. The first Joe Burrow game we're getting in months with both T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. But he ranks down at QB 11 because the matchup, the weather. Yeah, him versus Lamar Jackson, him versus Jacoby Brissett. These are some tough QB start sits. And personally, I want to force it with Burrow in spots like that. I do have some faith here in the pass volume and the offensive game environment despite the snow in this game. Chase Brown is a must start, running back 11 on the week. Samaje Perine does have an impact on Chase Brown. You can see it so clearly. The 3 games Samaje Perine misses or more every single one of those games. Perine comes back and instantly Chase Brown back to 60% of the snaps. Rush share declines, but he still has a good fantasy game. Still at 7 catches. He's still efficient on the ground, 78 rushing yards. Good matchup for Chase Brown. You're still starting Chase Brown. It's clear that the Bengals don't want Chase Brown to play, 80% of the snaps, and they trust Perine in certain situations. T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, obviously must starts. Show wide receivers, dog. I got you, dog. Battling through flu-like symptoms on live today. I do apologize for the scratchy voice. I'm good for one flu-like symptom live a season. Good to get it out of the way here before the fantasy playoffs as well. All right, that's the Bengals-Bills game. I think the Bengals are very capable of winning this one. This game still has a 53.5-point total. Guys, the over-under in this game has not moved from the weather report. It also kind of bodes well for what I'm saying here, that it might actually help the offense more than the defense. Game opened at a 53.5 total. It's still at a 53.5 total, despite the snow that's coming in that game. It's going to snow the whole game. All right, moving on to the Broncos-Raiders game. This is the Denver Broncos playing in Las Vegas. Raiders are 7.5-point underdogs in this one. I am playing the Raiders defense in DFS in a few of my lineups just because they're the minimum price defense. And there's some really expensive defenses on the slate. And I'm not like as in on the Broncos offense, I think, as the public seems to be. But the Raiders have been so bad this season. Max Crosby is expected to play. I've seen at least a couple games. I mean, they had 10 points against the Broncos the last time they played back in week 10. No sacks. They did have 2 sacks and 2 picks in that game. Only allowed 220 total yards and 10 points in that game. Did they win that game? They lost 10-7 back in week 10. Geno Smith played terrible. Genti had 19 carries, 60 yards, and a touchdown in that game. Bo Nix had 2 picks. He played awful as well. Dobbins was still playing in that game. Pat Bryant led the team in receiving with just 1 catch for 43 yards. I think the Raiders defense at minimum price is pretty interesting on DraftKings. This game's at home, too, against the Broncos. I was not super impressed with the Broncos offense against a horrible Commanders defense in their last Monday night game. They did win that game, but it was very, very, very close. I think Genti is a bit underrated this week, too. We got him at running back 9. I mean, the role has been good for Genti. And the receiving role especially has been really, really strong. 96% snap percentage last game for Genti. He now has 3 straight games with 8 targets. I mean, he's seeing 20% target shares. He had a 36% target share last week, guys. Only scored 12 points, but I feel like that's near his floor. I don't think we've really seen the ceiling Genti game yet this season. Maybe we won't get it this season with how bad the offensive line is, but yeah, he's still a must-start, Ashton Genti. Trey Tucker, really not startable. He's running wind sprints out there at 95% snap share. Dante Thornton is out in this game. So Jack Bech is expected to get some legit run. He did have 2 catches last game. He played 56% of the snaps. He's probably going to play over half the snaps. Well off the fantasy radar, but notable nonetheless. This team just has no receivers. I mean, man, this team could really use a guy like Jacoby Myers, huh? Tyler Lockett, Jack Bech, and Trey Tucker. It's really just Bowers and Genty here in this offense. On the Broncos side of this game, I was so excited for RJ Harvey on Monday night. He does go for 21 fantasy points because he scores twice, but just 35 rushing yards, only 47% of the snaps. I mean, it's so frustrating watching Tyler Bidet and Jaleel McLaughlin mix in as much as they are, but he's going to continue to score touchdowns. He's really a must-start. RJ Harvey in this matchup ranks as running back 10 just behind Ashton Genty in the ranks. Hop back over to the running back ranks here. It's a good matchup for Sutton. He did nothing against the Raiders in their first game, though. 3 catches for 24 yards. Only 4 targets in that game. Pat Bryant, guys, is out-targeting Troy Franklin. He had 3 catches for 42 yards on 7 targets. Last game for Troy Franklin on Monday night, he had 2 catches, 21 yards on 3 targets. Franklin is not startable. Absolutely not startable in this game. We got Franklin projected ahead of Pat Bryant because of the previous week precedents. I do not want to start Troy Franklin. The floor for him is extremely low here. I mean, there's 3 receivers on this team. Any one of them could lead the team in receiving in this game. And then Evan Ingram, I got him as a must bench here too. He's coming off a pretty good game, but that was against the Commanders, guys. Again, a horrible defense in the Washington Commanders. He went 6 for 79. Should have had an even bigger game. He had a 31% target share. 21% target share, 9 targets on 31 routes. Caught 6 of those for 79. The Raiders have been really good against tight ends, though, this season. I mean, they're allowing, in comparison to the Bengals, it's like night and day, man. The Bengals are allowing, 80 yards per game and 7 catches? Like half that here for the Raiders. 3.6 catches per game, 39 yards per game. Those are both bottom 3. Only 9 points per game allowed to tight ends. Haven't seen a single game over 15 points against the Raiders from a tight end all season. Evan Ingram's a bench, guys. He's a bench. Ertz or Strange? Yeah, I'm going Strange over Ertz. I'm not letting the rain push Ertz down that far. Michael Wilson or Alec Pierce? Yeah, we haven't got to that Cardinals game yet. But again, here, I'm going to sit here and tell you got to start Michael Wilson. Pat Bryant or Josh Downs? Oh, God, that's a tough one, too. I'd probably go Pat Bryant with the rain for Josh Downs. Call me crazy, but I'd like the underdog here again. The Raiders are 7.5-point underdogs at home. They just barely lost to the Broncos a month ago, 10-7. The Broncos barely beat a horrible Washington Commanders defense in their last game. Broncos I feel like are pretenders at 10-2. One of the best records in the NFL. I think tied for the best record in the NFL with the Pats. Pretenders. There's just no chance, I don't think, the Broncos to actually win a Super Bowl. The Raiders are 2-10, 7.5-point underdogs at home. Bo Nix, by the way, God, he projects pretty well. Ahead of Joe Burrow, I think I'd go Burrow over Bo Nix. Lamar versus Bo Nix, I'm going Lamar there. I'm playing Daniel Jones over Bo Nix as well, even in the rain. All right, only a few games left here. We already talked through the Bears-Packers game. We got the Rams-Cardinals up next. I did just see a bunch of Cardinals starts hit, so let's jump to that game. The Cardinals are 9.5-point underdogs. I think that makes them the biggest underdogs of the week. Yeah, it does. They're the biggest underdogs of the week here. In a game with a pretty high over-under at 47.5. They're at home, so this is another game outside of any weather concern here. Cardinals versus Rams. Trey McBride, a.k.a. Trey Gronkowski, projects for over 20 points in this game. I mean, he has been on an incredible tear. He's averaging almost 19 points per game. He's been over 22 points per game in 3 of his last 4. Hasn't been outside the top 2 tight ends in a month on a given week. He's got at least 8 catches in 4 straight games, at least 79 yards in 4 straight games. He's averaging a touchdown per game with Jacoby Brissett this season too. I mean, he's like completely different season with Brissett. Just amazing game logs here. He leads all tight ends in targets. He leads all tight ends in target share. He leads all tight ends in air yards and air yard share as well. He leads all tight ends in routes run. He leads all tight ends in snaps. He leads all tight ends in catches and yards and points. Bless you. Thank you. So yeah, you're starting Trey McBride. You're starting Trey McBride over like most receivers, guys. I mean, he really is like a true positional advantage right now in fantasy. Then we get to Michael Wilson, who he projects as wide receiver 5 of the receivers left. He projects ahead of Nico Collins and Devontae Adams and T. Higgins and Terry McLaurin and A.J. Brown, like pretty confidently. He only had 6.6 last week, but Marvin Harrison Jr. played in this game. Marvin Harrison Jr. outproduced and out-targeted him in this game, and now Marvin Harrison Jr. is out again. So we're going to go back to these 30% target shares, most likely for Michael Wilson. On top of Marvin Harrison Jr. being out, we also have Greg Dortch out. Greg Dortch out for the season, actually. He got put on IR today, I believe. Xavier Weaver, who should be the 3rd receiver, he's out too. So they call up Jalen Brooks. They got Andre Basellia in Jalen Brooks behind Michael Wilson today. It's going to be all Trey McBride and Michael Wilson in this game, and they're huge underdogs. So they're going to have to throw. And Brissett's shown he's going to be capable of getting these 2 guys the ball. So yeah, McBride and Michael Wilson, just absolute smash starts today. There's not going to be a question today where I tell someone to bench Michael Wilson. I'm seeing ETN versus Michael Wilson in the TikTok live. Like, it's not really that close. You got to start Michael Wilson. As a huge underdog, he's going to have a real chance at a 30% plus target share, given all the injuries. Bam Knight is one of the toughest start sits, I think, of the week. This week, he's been over 13 points in 3 straight games. He's got at least 3 catches in 3 straight games. All the running backs are out except for Michael Carter again for the Cardinals. So he's locked into the lead running back role. He's going to get at least 10 carries, but the matchup is tough versus the Rams. Game environment's going to be probably pretty pass heavy. That probably benefits Michael Carter more than Bam Knight. We did see Chuba Hubbard have a pretty good game, though, last week against the Rams. We've seen some good running back games still versus the Rams recently. You could do worse than Bam Knight today. I'm going to be starting Bam Knight in the flex in one of my leagues. We got him just behind Aaron Jones, but ahead of Kenneth Gainwell. Again, Kenneth Gainwell and Devin Neal. DeAndre Swift and Monangai project worse than Bam Knight because they're projected for a pretty 50-50 split. I'd probably start both those guys over Bam Knight. I think I'd go Neal and Gainwell over Bam Knight personally too. I think Bam Knight should probably be below Monangai in these running back ranks. Kyler Murray, by the way, he's done for the season for the Cardinals. He's probably done for his career with the Cardinals. On the Rams side of this game, Puka Nacua, he projects as wide receiver 2 at 19 points. Devontae, all I do is score touchdowns. Adams, he's at a 27% touchdown rate this season. Over a fourth of his catches are going for touchdowns. I mean, look at the guys. If you're watching live on YouTube right now, shout out to you. It is a better viewing experience over on YouTube. If you're watching live on TikTok, we got the season touchdown rate leaders up on the YouTube live right now. Devontae Adams at number 2. He's surrounded by just all low volume guys. Torrey Horton, Tez Johnson, Kayshon Boutte. I mean, Adams is just a touchdown scoring machine. His touchdown rate is higher than his target share. And his target share is at 25%. Crazy, crazy stuff. I mean, scoring a touchdown every single game. He's averaging over a touchdown per game. 4 touchdowns in his last 2 now. Going to have a good chance to score another one today. Kyron Williams is a must start. And Blake Corum is definitely an interesting sleeper here versus the Cardinals too, because they're 8.5-point favorites. And he's starting to get more run. 81 rushing yards and a touchdown in his last game on just 7 carries. There's been some quotes from Sean McVay that they want to keep Kyron Williams fresh for the NFL playoffs. They're already locked in to the NFL playoffs at this point. And Corum's been playing just as well as Kyron. He had 11.6 yards per carry last week. I do like his rushing props today. Considered him for one of the free player props. Didn't quite make it for me, but 35.5 rushing yards. I like the over there for Corum. Pitts are strange. It's a super close one. Yeah, I talked through both those tight ends already. Kincaid is going to play. Pitts is, I have all those guys really close together. I have Kincaid at the top of tier 4, though. I have Pitts and Strange in the same tier Strange is playing in heavy rain the whole game, so I'm okay going Pitts if you want to play it safe there with the rain. Without the rain, I do think it would be Strange though over Pitts. Stafford ranks as QB2. You can't bench Stafford right now. He's going to have some big games too to catch back up to Drake May in the MVP race. All right, that's the Rams-Cardinals game. Cardinals are 9.5-point underdogs at home. I do think the Rams win this one, but man, 9.5 points is a lot to give to the Cardinals. They're also missing a bunch of defensive players too. I mean, this team is really ravaged with injuries right now. I think I would avoid the underdog in this one. All right, we got the Texans, 3.5-point underdogs in Kansas City for the night game tonight. Then we'll get to the Eagles-Chargers game on Monday. Then we're going to get to free player props, DraftKings lineup, and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of start-sit questions. Let me pull up the tight end ranks here on the YouTube Live. Bam Knight or Vidal? Yeah, you can't start Vidal. We'll get to that game here in a second. But let's talk through this Texans-Chiefs game. Every single game left is a playoff game for the Kansas City Chiefs. A pretty big game here for the Texans as well. Texans, I think, have the best defense in the NFL, which is why this game is projected to be as close as it is. Only a 3.5-point spread, only 43.5-point total here. We're obviously starting Nico Collins. Dalton Schultz continues to project decently, but just be kind of an unexciting player for fantasy. 7 catches, 55 yards last week, printed another 12.5 fantasy points. Like right around where we had him projected. He was tight end 10 last week. Every week there's comments, why is Dalton Schultz projected so high? And every week look at his volume. He's averaging a 20% target share this season. That's tight end 8. He's got the 4th most targets per game among tight ends. So he's going to project near the top 10 tight ends every week. He just doesn't really have a ceiling. So not super exciting. Woody Marks does not project well in this game. He's been under 8 points in 3 straight now. He did have 19 carries in his last game. The role is pretty good, but the targets have vanished. He has 3 targets in his last 3 games combined. And it's not a good matchup here for Woody Marks. I want to bench Jaden Higgins this week as well. He's been doing pretty good. 9.5 points in 4 straight games, over 11 points in 3 of his last 4. He had 5 catches for 65 yards his last game. I do not like this matchup for him, though, against the Chiefs at all. I would prefer Devon Bailey over him by like a decent margin this week. I would prefer Luther Burden by a decent margin as well. Going to get to some of these super chats, I promise. Higgins, Pittman, Myers, flex, PPR. Yeah, I'm going Higgins there. And then Neal or Swift. Oh, God, it probably has to be Swift over Neal, but it's definitely close. Definitely close there. On the Chiefs side of this game, CJ Stroud is also a QB I really don't want to start here against the Chiefs. Pull up the QB ranks again. Watson or Myers? I think you got to go Myers. Even in the rain, I think I'm going Myers there. Rashee Rice is a smash start no matter the matchup. Mahomes, I'm still starting this week over a lot of quarterbacks too. Like his floor is 14, 15 points. He's got a really tough schedule here coming up against the Texans, then the Chargers. 2 of the top 3 defenses versus quarterbacks this season. I still think I like the floor from Mahomes though over some of the guys below him. Him versus Lamar is honestly a tough call. Him versus Burrow, I think, is a pretty tough call as well. But yeah, I want to start Mahomes in these playoff games. The Chiefs have to win out. They have to win 5 straight games. And they're going to likely be in the playoffs if they do so. Kelsey's a top 10 tight end. I'm okay starting him if you don't have one of those top 7. If you don't have Kincaid, Juwan Johnson, Pitts, Warren, Strange, Bowers, McBride, then I do think I'm going Kelsey. Kelsey over Ertz, over Schultz, over Andrews, Loveland, and those types. Xavier Worthy continues to underproduce his role as well. He played 88% of the snaps last week. He's seeing 18% target shares. Some of these games, 20% target shares. Haven't seen the big Xavier Worthy game yet. I do think it's coming. I do think we get one big Xavier Worthy game here down the stretch of the season, even in tough matchups. The role here is really, really good. Pacheco, he only projects for 5 points. Kareem Hunt is the lead back on this team right now, but all 3 of these running backs are going to play. Makes them all borderline unstartable. I really don't want to start Kareem Hunt this week. that's pretty much it here for the Chiefs. A pretty straightforward team. I think the Chiefs defense is one to stash. The Chiefs, the Eagles, the 49ers, they're on bye this week, by the way. If you're in the fantasy playoffs, guys, go add the 49ers. They get the Titans next week. They're coming off the bye against the Titans. So, yeah, you want the 49ers defense. You want the Chiefs defense as well because they get the Titans in week 16, the second week of the fantasy playoffs. And you want the Eagles because they get the Raiders next week. Those are three defenses I'm stashing for the fantasy playoffs. I do like the Chiefs in this game. I'm going to keep taking the Chiefs in these playoff type games for them. All right, the Eagles and the Chargers. Let's actually talk about the Chargers side of this game first. Justin Herbert is questionable in this game. He got hand surgery this week to stabilize a fracture in his non-throwing left hand. And all reports have suggested that he plans to play, that he's expected to play. I think there's a legit chance he does not play in this game. You know, there's one thing to want to play, and there's another thing to get cleared to play. There's a real chance he doesn't play. All reports, too, about Justin Herbert have been that he hasn't taken a single snap under center in practice this week. Like, he's not going to be able to play under center. There's been reports that if Justin Herbert plays, he might come out in red zone situations where they need to take snaps under center. They might put Trey Lance in the under center snaps. So Justin Herbert, he's just not startable in fantasy, playing on Monday night. He's a true questionable, in my opinion, whereas the reporting this week has been more so like the reporting suggests it's like 95% chance he plays. I think it's more like 60% chance he plays. And even if he plays, we might not get the normal Justin Herbert here. He just had surgery on his left hand. He's one fall away on this left hand. He's probably going to have to play with some type of cast. And if he doesn't play, I mean, that's horrible, horrible news for all these receivers. And then on top of that, another wrinkle in all this, Marion Hampton is back for the first game in, 2 months now? Yeah, we haven't seen Marion Hampton since week 5. And he was starting to really come on. And he was having a huge receiving role too. He had 17 catches. Did Marion Hampton in his last 3 games. Week 3, week 4, week 5. 2 of those games came against really good matchups. But the Eagles, they just allowed 250 rushing yards to the Bears. So Marion Hampton's in play. I don't really want to start him in his first game back, but I'm willing to do it. And Kamani Vidal is suddenly a must bench. He played great last week. Had him as a start last week. Still going to have a role definitely on this team. We'll see how big. He had 20 points last week. Was the running back 4. But on a 76% snap share, he's not hitting these volume numbers with Hampton back. Could be a pretty even split, though, in Hampton's first game back. I still prefer Hampton, though, over Vidal. And the only receiver you can start here is McConkey. I think Quentin Johnson has a ceiling. Keenan Allen still presents somewhat of like a floor, a 7-point floor. That's what he had in his last game. The Eagles are 2.5-point favorites in LA in this one. I do like the Eagles in this game with the uncertainty around Justin Herbert, but man, their run defense has been bad. They have defensive line injuries as well. Gadsden, just a quick note on him. He's really fallen down from the mountaintop he was on like a month ago. He was ranking as a top 5 tight end a month ago. Now he has 3 straight games under 7 fantasy points. Eagles rank 4th best defense versus tight ends too, so he's not startable. On the Eagles side of this game, I mean, will the real Saquon Barkley please stand up? I was trading for Saquon aggressively all season, and this is similar to Lamar Jackson's situation. Like, we're just still waiting to see Saquon Barkley look like the Saquon Barkley we've seen in the past. And he's going to have a pretty good chance to do it over the last month. He's pretty good matchups basically the rest of the season. This is his most difficult matchup left, and the Chargers rank middle of the pack. He did play 93% of snaps last week, but only 13 carries, only 2 targets, 5.6 points, no catches. We really need to see Saquon get going, and there's offensive line injuries now for the Eagles too, which is not ideal for Saquon. He projects still as a back-end running back 1, but man, it's weird to see Saquon projecting behind some of these guys he's projecting behind. If you guys are just joining the YouTube live, guys, smash the like button. We're about to get to the free player props, DK lineup, and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of star hits. Bench Jay Jettas per Watson? Absolutely not. I'm not doing it. I'm in on Justin Jefferson this week. Going to get to that. I'll recap that thought in a second too. AJ Brown has been getting force-fed the ball. He now has 25 catches in his last 3 games combined. Hasn't been under a 27% target share. Has 2 games over a 40% target share. Was it 34, 35 targets in his last 3 games? I mean, you can't bench him right now. The Chargers are the number 1 defense, though, versus receivers this season. Makes me a tiny bit nervous. Just 24.8 points per game allowed. Sutton had a good game. We've seen some one-off good games here. Jacoby, Roman, I mean, they haven't played too many great receivers since like week 7, week 8. So yeah, you're still starting AJ Brown this week. And Devontae Smith, he ranks a little bit below AJ Brown. He's taken a bit of a back seat with AJ Brown getting peppered with all these targets. Only 12 catches for Devontae Smith in that same time span. Targets have kind of been there, though, his last 2 games, 19 targets still. He's startable, but not a must start. And Dallas Goedert is like unstartable at this point. Looks a lot like the Aronde Gadsden game logs we were just looking at in this same game. He was doing really well for a portion of this season. Still ranks his tight end 10 in points per game, but he's been under 9 fantasy points in 4 straight games. He's been under 5 points in 3 straight games. Only 2 catches in 3 straight games for Goddard. That's not a startable tight end, guys. And Jalen Hurts is still a start. Still is the rushing potential, projected close game. There's not too many QBs you can confidently start over Jalen Hurts at this point. McConkey or Flowers? Do receivers. Yeah, I'll go to the receivers next. Talk to the McConkey Flowers question. Yeah, we got McConkey over Flowers. I do think Herbert plays, by the way. I just think there's a better chance he doesn't play than people are realizing. I do think he plays. Now, I'm willing to start McConkey. But I think there's a larger percentage chance that he does not play than is getting credit for. That's all I'm saying. I still think it's more likely than not he plays. I think he plays I'm at 70% chance Herbert plays. So you can't start Herbert in fantasy. I think you can start McConkey, though. And if Trey Lance does end up playing or plays any amount of snaps in this game and is expected to throw in this game, that's obviously not going to be good for McConkey if that happens. With how bad the Eagles' run defense is, too, I think we just see a full-blown rushing attack. If Trey Lance is forced into this game, it's just going to be run after run after run after run. I mean, they're not going to throw it all. All right, that's every single game. Talk to every single relevant player in every game. We're still just getting started on the live today, guys. I'm going to talk through my DraftKings lineup, talk through my free player props, and then we will get to the start-sit segment. So I got Bucky Irving over 69.5 rushing yards. Tony Pollard under 49.5 rushing yards, and Justin Jefferson over 65.5 receiving yards. I think Justin Jefferson has a huge game here versus the Commanders. I think he goes over 100 receiving yards. I feel similar about Bucky. I think he goes over 100 rushing yards as well. I feel really good about both these guys. Say what you want about J.J. McCarthy. There is not a player on the Commanders that is going to stop Justin Jefferson on their defense. And then Tony Pollard against the Browns in the snow. This feels like a really high line for Pollard. I get that he's the primary ball carrier. Tajay Spears, we saw really not getting carries. Pollard's been right around 10 or 11 carries. He's been at 10 or 11 carries in 5 straight games. So they're projecting him to go for over 5 yards per carry against the Browns. I don't really get it. I really don't really get this line. He was at 6 yards per carry last week against the Jags. He did go for 60 yards. But he was under 2.5 yards per carry the 2 previous games. And the Browns have been pretty efficient against the running backs, their defense. They're allowing 3.7 yards per carry this season. McCaffrey was at 2.6 yards per carry last game. Gentry was at 2.9 yards per carry. Henry was at 5.7. But, McCaffrey barely beat this line against the Browns. Why would we think Tony Pollard could beat this line? Gentry barely beat this line. McCaffrey barely beat this line. Pollard's going to max out at 10 carries. You could easily only get 5 or 6 carries in this game. You could easily be under 3 yards per carry in this game. So yeah, I like this Tony Pollard under as well. Those are the 3 free player props for me today. I think Bucky's role continues to grow. I think Justin Jefferson has his biggest game in a month plus. The DraftKings lineup I'm going with here is a J.J. McCarthy, Justin Jefferson, Terry McLaurin stack. I don't think anyone's playing J.J. McCarthy in DFS. I'm going with J.J. McCarthy and Tyler Shuck in like all my DFS lineups. Today feels pretty gross, but I think they're low enough owned and high enough ceiling to make sense in these big tournaments. I'm playing Bucky Irving in this lineup as well. Found room for Michael Wilson. I like the Kenneth Walker play against the Falcons as well. Thought about him for a free player prop. I really like the ceiling for him. And then James Cook is capable of a 40-point game here versus the Bengals. Juwan Johnson in that game against the Bucs. So the Bucky Irving, Juwan Johnson stack I got going. Here, I'm playing the Colts defense as well in that rain game. I don't hate playing the Raiders defense on DraftKings this week too, with how low they're priced and how well they did against the Broncos offense just a few weeks ago. My favorite stacks of the week, I like the Shuck, Vele, Juwan, Bucky stack. I like the Kenneth Walker Seahawks defense stack, but the Seahawks defense is priced so high. It's a little tough to get that in. And then J.J. McCarthy, Jefferson, McLaurin stack I like as well. And I like the Warren, Jacoby Myers stack, but with the rain, I like it a little bit less. I put that as my fourth favorite stack here on the slate. All right, that is the DFS lineup, the free player props. It's time to get to the start sit segment of the live stream. I'm going to be hammering start sits the rest of the live, guys. There's super chat functionality on the YouTube now. We'll scroll up and try to find any that I missed so far in live if I did miss any. Full PPR, Wilson, Ladd, Mitchell, Burden, Addison. Yes, it's Michael Wilson. You're starting Michael Wilson like very easily, very, very easily. He projects his wide receiver 5 for us right now of the receivers left. I mean, look at these names he's with. Jacoby Myers is up there too, man. Winning in Pitts or Kincaid. Oh, super, super close. I got Pitts one tier ahead of Kincaid. I am a tiny bit nervous about the verbiage used about Dalton Kincaid. They said he plans to try to play. Like, just tell me he plans to play, man. The plans to try to play is just a little bit scary for me. He's coming back with a hamstring. So, yeah, I think I'd lean Pitts there. It's a good match for Pitts, good role for Pitts. No Drake London again. Devon Achane or DK Metcalf? This is a great question. And I actually have this exact same start sit in one of my leagues. And I'm riding with Achane. And Metcalf projects better. I said earlier when I talked through the Steelers game, I'm still waiting for the big Metcalf game. I think we're going to get one. I think we're going to get a big Metcalf game. But I'm in on Achane, man. I'm forcing it with Achane this week, and I'm okay with it. I'm playing him in DFS. I'm playing him in a few lineups this week. I mean, he's going to play over 88% of the snaps. He's going to be out there over 80% of the snaps, just locked in over 80% of the snaps. There's 7.5-point underdogs or 6-point underdogs in this game, 8.5-point underdogs. They're going to throw. The team has shown they're going to be able to throw like considerable volume, play at a pretty fast pace, lead a lot of passes. And he had a 24% target share last week. He's got 15 targets in his last 2 games. I think he might actually just be good too. So yeah, I'm starting Achane over DK Metcalf. They project pretty close together, but yeah, it's definitely a close call. All right, I think that was, we got a win and in situation here. Going to be bringing Seth on to the live here shortly. And we will definitely be getting Samps to join later on here as well. Ladd, Jaden Higgins, Vele, DK, or Debo, best 3. First time mom trying to prove these men wrong. Wow, let's go, man. This is an unreal comment here. Yeah, I think you benched Jaden Higgins. So it's really between 4 guys, Ladd, Vele, DK, or Debo. I just said Vele over DK. I think you probably bench DK here as well. It's maybe DK versus Debo, honestly. I'm okay playing Vele over Debo too, but Jane Daniels is back. I like that for Debo Samuel. Let's compare Debo and Metcalf here. God. Yeah, it's close. I think I'd probably bench Metcalf. I'd play Vele, Debo, Ladd. I'm not playing Jaden Higgins, like definitely not in this one. Good luck proving all the men wrong. All right, we're gonna bring Seth on to the live stream. Seth, how's it going, man? Great to see you on this wonderful Week 14 Sunday morning.
Yes, it's awesome to be here. So glad to join everyone and super pumped. I've got so many matches today where if I win, I'm in playoffs. I'm trying to secure a good seed in some of my leagues. In one league, I've got the 5th most points, 14-man league, and I'm still trying to avoid the punishment due to bad luck. So every single game matters for me this week. So super excited.
Yeah, this is an exciting time of the fantasy season. We grind so hard and so long in the NFL season, all draft season, and like at the end of the day, it comes down to these four weeks. That's it. You got to get in, and you got to churn out wins. From here, you definitely got to avoid the last place punishments. I know a lot of people out there too.
Oh yeah,
trying to do that for sure. Seth, I'm in 12 different fantasy leagues. Way too many. I always tell people over 2 is too many. That's just a fact. And you're playing against players that you also have. Once you're in more than 2, I know you're in more than 2 as well. I'm in the playoffs in 10 of those 12 leagues already.
Wow. Impressive.
I need 1 win to get in an 11th, and then the 32 man is the only league I'm not going to make the playoffs. But at least I avoided the toilet bowl.
Yeah, you don't want that.
I think technically I'm not eliminated, but I'm like the last uneliminated team. It's mathematically basically possible for me to make the playoffs, but I'll do my best to make a final push. But yeah, I'm proud to be in the playoffs in that many leagues, but I know it doesn't matter yet. You got to actually turn out wins in the playoffs and then get these wins in the playoffs. But yeah, pumped to have you on the live. Seth, things been a little over a month since you joined the Sunday morning live. You definitely nailed it the last time you were on. So yeah, I'm curious to get some of your takes on the week. There's a bunch of weather this week. I talked through that. I'll give you, my opinion on that, but curious to get any weather takes you have, any just like strong takes you have here in week 14.
Yeah, the first one, I'm about to make a TikTok video after this live about it because on Friday I posted all about the 4 games with weather to watch out for. And pretty much it was like, don't worry about it too much. Don't worry about it too much. But this Colts Jaguars game, I'm pretty worried about that. That's going to be the main topic of my video because it looks like pretty bad. I just checked it right before hopping on this live and they're like, it could pour all game long. So I'm watching out for certain players. Like it's going to be tough for Pittman. It's going to be tough for Alec Pierce, who has a great matchup this week. Top 10 easiest matchup of the week in terms of his cornerback wide receiver matchup. But with the rain, it's hard to get started down the field. The defenders that are sitting back waiting for those players have a little bit of advantage, and the teams throwing the ball is going to be a lot more difficult. So I'm watching out for those guys, especially. And the defenses. I like the defenses a lot more. Particularly, I do like the Colts defense maybe a little bit better than Jaguars, but I think both these guys could be interesting options this week.
Yeah, for sure. I'm playing the Colts defense, actually, my DFS lineup, mostly because of just where the pricing shook out, but partially because of this rain. And let me just run through my read on the weather report quickly, what I'm expecting to see in the games. So we have heavy snow. I'm not calling it heavy, actually, moderate snow in the Bengals at Bills game. It's the heaviest snow game of the day. We're going to see snow throughout the game. There's going to be snow before the game, and it's going to be cold enough that the snow will stick to the field. But it's only like 1 to 3 inches of snow. It's not a ton of snow. I think this could be one of these weird situations that might actually benefit the offense more than the defense.
Yes, I agree.
Snow. And the total in this game, the over-under in this game actually has not moved at all from where it opened. So the change in the weather has not impacted at least Vegas's projection of points scored in that game, but it is, noteworthy. There's going to be light snow in the Titans at Browns game, but it's probably warm enough that it's not going to stick to the field. It's going to be more like a visual thing where it's going to be lightly snowing most of the game, if not the whole game, but it's like 1 inch of snow, probably not going to stick. I don't think it really impacts anything. I think, the actual thing in this game is just we have Myles Garrett against the most sacked QB in the NFL. Yeah. I mean, it's regardless of the weather, that's going to be pretty rough. Anything on top of that's probably not great for the Titans offense. But like you said, the Colts Jags game, heavy rain.
Yeah, watch out.
It's going to be heavy rain the whole game.
That sucks.
Yeah, I'm not overly concerned. I'm a little concerned. I think it's okay to use it as a tiebreaker. It makes me like the Colts defense a little bit more. We have Daniel, we have a bunch of these guys projected so strong.
Yeah, I like Daniel Jones still. Little rushing action.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to run. He only had 1 rushing yard last week. He's dealing with the fibula.
Yeah.
So I don't think he's going to run at all. I think Daniel Jones we had Daniel Jones ranked as QB4. I'd actually move him down to QB 10, QB 11.
Yeah.
So I play Joe Burrow over him in the snow game.
Sure. Yeah.
I play Lamar over him, as bad as Lamar has been.
Yeah, I would too. As a Steelers fan, I'm telling you, Lamar Jackson's probably going to have a good week.
Yeah, I've been saying that for a month, it feels like, though, and I'm waiting for Lamar to bounce back for sure. But
probably today.
yeah, I definitely agree that the matchup's good. These two teams, they haven't actually played yet, right? They play again in week 18.
Yeah, they play twice in this back half. Very AFC, a lot of games at the end, AFC North that matter.
But yeah, I agree. Alec Pierce, he should be downgraded like a little bit.
Not much, but a little bit.
I mean, we had the two tight ends in this game too, both top 4 among the tight ends left. Strange without Parker Washington in the lineup. Strange in the games that Strange has played, he leads the Jaguars in receiving.
Yeah, he's been great.
And then Tyler Warren's been balling too. I mean, I've been kind of banging the table for Tyler Warren to be in the offensive rookie of the year conversation. I feel like for a while, it seems like he's mostly out of that race. Now he's like cooled down a little bit, but this matchup versus the Jags is really, really strong for tight ends. Only the Bengals have been worse than the Jags. But yeah, the heavy rain makes me like a little less excited for him. I think you could make an argument for Kyle Pitts and Kincaid maybe over both these guys. But yeah, really close tight end tiers, I feel like, here with the rain impact. There's also some possible rain in the Saints-Bucks game, but only would be
not worried too much about that.
Yeah, I'm not worried about that at all either. But any other strong takes, Seth, you got for this Week 14 slate?
Yeah, I just wanted to add one more quick thing about the weather is that I am monitoring the kickers. Even in like some of the snow games, it's definitely more difficult to kick when the field is wet and slippery. If you've got Cam Little, if you've been riding with the Colts kicker this season, I know they switched it up a little bit, but I'm probably going to switch out McPherson for another kicker if there's a good guy on the waiver wire. But I am watching out for that in those games. I think they could be more effective than really anybody else. But strong takes for the game for this week. I'm definitely watching out for Judkins. He's a player that's kind of been up and down. We talked a little bit about the weather against the Titans. The Titans are literally the worst running back worst team against running backs. So I think Judkins is a great start this week. I also like both the Steelers running backs as well, Jaylen Warren and Kenneth Gainwell against the Ravens. Really good matchup. I think Lamar Jackson will be good. So those are two players I'm looking to succeed. Again, I'm not huge on the Steelers offense overall. It's looked awful, but the running game has actually been pretty strong. So I like both those guys. You can see in the WalterPicks app here. Definitely Gainwell has that boom probability. He's had 2 games as a running back 1 this season, I believe. Maybe even 3. He's been awesome. 3 games as a running back 1. He just has those reception numbers. You can see that last column. The green is so inviting. And against the Buffalo Bills last week, it was a travesty of a team performance overall. But this week it should be a lot more interesting.
Now look at this list. It goes McCaffrey, Achane, and then Gainwell.
Yeah, impressive.
He's right behind both these guys in targets per out run. And that's when both 2 of these games, these huge games from Gainwell, the 2 30-point games, we saw Jaylen Warren miss time in both those games, and then he just smashes because he's out there running more routes, and the targets per out run isn't going down. He's just getting more work. There was comments from Tomlin this week too. They want to lean even more on these running backs. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, they have to.
These guys are in play. It's interesting that they project so close. It's kind of like the Monangai Swift situation where like they're both startable. It's a little murky because there's 2 of them, and you don't know exactly which guy's going to end up getting the touchdown. But they both have like a pretty good ceiling and kind of a sneaky floor. Yeah. Well, with how this offense is being run right now, I definitely agree with that. And Rodgers has been a dump it off to the running back quarterback for quite some time. The other one you said there was another running back. Yeah,
Judkins. Yeah, he's ranked a little bit lower for us this week, but I do really like the matchup against the Titans. Again, in terms of fantasy points allowed compared to average, the Titans are 32nd in the league. So they're 23rd overall, but they have faced, that would mean they face some easier matchups, meaning that running backs that aren't as good at scoring fantasy points. Compared to an average, though, running backs are doing much better against this team. So I do like Judkins a lot this week. I know some people are like, do I start him? Do I sit him? He's kind of been up and down. This offense may struggle a little bit in the weather if they just can't move as well. But I still like Judkins this week. And the one other player I want to mention, they may be on the waiver wire for you guys, is Tyrod Taylor. He's set up a little bit of a floor. I like Mariota as well off the waiver wire, but Tyrod Taylor has a really good matchup this week. It's the 4th easiest matchup of the week in terms of fantasy points allowed compared to the average. He showed a little bit of rushing ability these last few weeks, 5 carries, 8 carries.
Yeah.
Love to see that there in the WalterPicks app. And then the floor is pretty good. I mean, even 14 points. I mean, someone like Lamar Jackson been under 10 points 3 weeks in a row. And with the ability to get 21 points in this game against Miami, I do like Tyrod Taylor this week. Adonai Mitchell and John Mechie both getting more used to this offense, standing out a little bit. They actually look, somewhat decent. So I do like him off the waiver wire this week.
Yeah, he's a good sleeper call out. I mentioned him talking through this game as kind of one of these dusty QBs like you could consider. I'm rocking with JJ McCarthy and Tyler Shuck stacks and my draft
all right.
this week. So I feel like I got to at least consider a Tyrod Taylor stack as well with Mechie and AD Mitchell, like you mentioned, all like really cheap on DraftKings. Mechie and AD Mitchell, they're both playing over 80% of snaps.
Yeah, great target opportunities.
Yeah, and this Dolphins defense isn't scary. My one fear for the passing attack for the Jets today is I just think they're going to run pretty successfully versus the Dolphins. I think both these offenses today are going to have pretty good success on the ground and might create a kind of like slow, low-scoring passing game here. But I think Achane and Brees are both set up to smash as well. But yeah, the rushing for Tyrod Taylor really can't be ignored either. 44 rushing yards and a touchdown. There's very, very few quarterbacks.
Yeah, that's 10 points right there.
Yeah, capable of that type of rushing for fantasy. And at a minimum, though, like AD Mitchell and Mechie, like they're on the fantasy radar now because we have a Jets offense suddenly that like they're not a great passing attack, but like he can complete passes. We have
and it's consolidated as well. That's kind of the key as well. Last week, 20 targets between Mechie and Mitchell.
Yeah, and we were on the Mechie receptions prop on this live last week. That did end up cashing very late in the game. We had a couple late cashes last week. Yeah, that's a good call out. Let's jump to this start sit quick before we get back to any other takes you have. Seth, we have Godwin, Devon Neal, Franklin, and Burden in a PPR league. I'm going to narrow this down for us because I do not think we can start Troy Franklin right now. Is there a ceiling? Sure, but he got out-targeted by Pat Bryant last week. He might be behind Sutton any given week as well. I mean, I think it's like really low floor for Franklin. The Broncos only scored 10 points versus the Raiders in their last game. I was pretty unimpressed by the Broncos too defensively against the Commanders in their last game as well. So I'm taking Franklin out of here. Godwin, I also think probably can be removed, but I'll leave him in for now. I really think it's between Devon Neal and Burden here, though. I'm pretty excited for Burden. I've been excited about Burden on this live, I feel like all season, because I was very in on him as a prospect. And it's like, I feel like every week I come on this live, I'm like, wow, we can basically guarantee a largest role of the season for Burden. And that's like, again, true this week with Rome Odunze out. We still haven't seen Luther Burden get over a 51% snap share this season. He's been right around it in his last couple of games. He's seen 16, 17% of the targets in 3 straight games, 18, almost 19% was highest of the season last week, but he's still only out there half the snaps. You got to think he gets out there 70, 80% of the snaps in this game. I know Zacchaeus will step in too. The matchup's not amazing, but they are, I believe, underdogs in this game.
They have to be. I would think so.
Yeah, they're 6.5 point underdogs. I liked a lot of the underdogs on the slate today as I talked through it. They were one of them. The Bears definitely could win this game. 6.5 feels like a lot. I get that it's in Green Bay, but so you got Burden, but then you have Devon Neal in like a workhorse role for the Saints. Yeah. He played over 80% of the snaps last week, and he's seen a bunch of targets in back-to-back games too. So I like his floor. Godwin's coming off his best game. I feel like he's still really, really risky. He doesn't have a game with more than 3 catches still all season. So yeah, I prefer these other 2 guys. But yeah, which way do you lean here between this start sit?
Yeah, I really like this view in the WalterPicks app here because this is exactly how I see it, actually. I think Devon Neal, he's got the bust probability of 0%. With the receptions and the his opportunity in this offense, I think if you're looking for a safe 10 points, he's your go-to guy. Based on your matchup, based on your tiebreaker, I'd go Devon Neal. The Chris Godwin, one thing I'll mention here, I was watching that game right before halftime. Baker Mayfield threw the ball through 3 defenders. None of them hit him. Ball bounced off Chris Godwin's chest. He would have caught a touchdown pass, had an extra catch, and 17 points. And I think we're like Godwin for sure, right? Yeah. If he catches that ball, we're like, oh, for sure, go Godwin. This Rob probably wouldn't have even asked this question. So I do like Godwin for the boom probability. If you're facing a tough opponent, you need to make up some ground in the points for category. I think take the risk and go with Godwin. Burden for me is kind of, for me, the odd man out, maybe the in-between of the two. But this week he's facing Javon Bullard of the Packers. That's the 3rd hardest cornerback matchup. And Caleb Williams, I've been studying him this week. Every single time he's faced a defense in the top 20, he has had a bad fantasy performance. Caleb Williams has. So I'm a little bit worried about Luther Burden with an extremely difficult matchup. They're going to be able to focus him and say, hey, don't let DJ Moore beat us. Don't let Luther Burden meet us. We're going to crowd the box. We're going to get after Caleb Williams. I'm a little bit worried about him overall. So I would probably go with Neal for the safe points and risk it with Godwin if I needed a big week.
Yeah, that's totally reasonable. And Devon Neal, he's 10 targets in his last 2 games, 82% of snaps. You don't see running backs playing over 80% of snaps. Like just in general, anytime you see this, like it's pretty compelling for fantasy. There's 3 running backs on the season averaging over 80%. Like he's going to be in the top 5 of snap percentage among running backs. The Saints offense is like so sneaky for fantasy too, because they run so many plays. They play at a fast pace and they're underdogs every week because their defense isn't very good. So yeah, as you talk through that, I honestly think I'd need Devon Neal, but I agree. There for the first time all season, Godwin started to look a little bit like the Godwin of old last week. I know he only had 3 catches.
Great yardage.
Yeah, he did have some actual big explosive plays. And yeah, 1 catch away from a 17-point game. So yeah, totally reasonable there. I think I agree ceiling floor on that one. Hey, Sam, pretty much win and in. Yeah, guys, let us know in the comments if it's a win and in starts it. These are the critical starts
that's
it.
A good one.
It's crazy how much time we put into our fantasy teams. And then like at the end of the day, it comes down to Devon Neal versus Chris Godwin in week 14. It's just all down to this. But I love the pressure of week 14, man. Jacoby Myers, AJ Brown, and Bam Knight. Half PPR makes it even more difficult. I will switch the app to half PPR here. Part of the reason I think the app is so powerful for me, at least as a content creator, is these different scoring settings, because it's so hard for me to like easily shift my mentality to these different scoring settings where it sometimes can make a huge difference. I don't think it's going to matter in this start sit, but yeah, it definitely makes it closer. I imagine we have Jacoby Myers projected super high, even in the rain, with no Parker Washington in this game. Good matchup against the Colts, but yeah, the rain makes it a little scarier. AJ Brown has the most difficult matchup for receivers in terms of points allowed, fantasy points allowed, just pure fantasy points allowed to receivers this season. Chargers rank number 1, allowing under 20 points per game in total to all receivers. They haven't played the best receivers.
Yeah, I think
and we have seen good single receiver games, like 17 plus points from some of the top guys. Pittman, Debo. We saw Sutton do it earlier in the season. None super recently, but they're playing the Steelers. They played Jacoby Myers in his first game with the Jags, and no Brian Thomas Jr. in that game. Justin Jefferson when JJ McCarthy was doing absolutely nothing. So like we haven't seen them in the toughest games, and we've seen 40% target share for AJ Brown in 2 of his last 3 games. I mean, they were just funneling targets to AJ Brown recently. So this is a tough start sit, man. We got Jacoby projected. Look at the boom probability for Brown. I think I'd lean AJ Brown personally in this one, Seth, but I'm curious which way you go. And yeah, Bam Knight's close, man, in this too.
Yeah, I think if you're like, man, I can't live with myself if AJ Brown, who's cost me so many games this season, costs me 1 more on the win to get in. Bam Knight, I think he's a decently safe option. Like we said with Devon Neal, like he doesn't have a lot of competition. I think he's a safe 10 points. But if I was like, hey, I have to win, I'm in a tough matchup, I'm going with AJ Brown. The rain for Jacoby Myers, that weather has just started to kind of kick up a little bit more. So that gives me a little bit of pause there. So I would go AJ Brown this week, especially half PPR. Which one of these guys most likely to score a touchdown? I'd say probably Bam Knight's in there, but AJ Brown a good choice as well.
Yeah, I feel like I talked myself into some bad start decisions with this logic last week with Justin Jefferson, but last game of the season, win and in, you're looking at your 2nd round pick versus Bam Knight. It's like, and I know that the order of your picks does not matter at this point in the season, but it's still stomaching a 20-point AJ Brown game that would have got you in.
And he's been good lately. By the way, like look at the last 3 weeks, 10 plus. I know Sirianni said he's going to get more involved with the play calling. That's the only reason I'm worried. But the 7 catches, 8 catches, 10 catches, looking at the last 3 weeks, this guy's been awesome. I wouldn't worry about it too much. Yeah,
Bam Knight's a really tough one for me to stomach this week against the Rams, but the projection I think does make sense. Everything going into that projection I think makes sense. We got Egbuka, K9, Devon Neal, or Burden. I think we already said Neal over Burden.
Yeah, I agree.
K9 and Egbuka though, I think are definitely in play over Devon Neal. Egbuka, Seth, is I think number 1 in terms of underperforming his expectation every week, just in terms of his volume. Like the role I think has been so strong for Devon Neal. Let me switch. For Egbuka. Let me switch this back to PPR since he didn't say what the scoring is. But Egbuka's like role. If you told me, before you told me what his points were, you told me Egbuka was going to get 30% target share every single week, like floor of 25%. I'm smashing Ibuka.
Lock him in, right?
And into props every single game. He's got at least 8 targets all of these last 6 games. One game over 10 points in that span. I mean, really has quieted down. I still think the ceiling is like pretty underrated for him, but I like Kenneth Walker a lot versus the Falcons today too. Let me make sure this is PPR. Yeah, it is. We got the ceiling higher for Ibuka, the floor safer for Kenneth Walker by a lot.
Yep.
Raw projections definitely leaning towards Kenneth. I like Kenneth. I think they really are trying to get him more and more involved. His rushing line today is at 65.5. This is a pretty high rushing yard.
That's not bad at all.
Line. It's a pretty good floor. Obviously has a good chance at a touchdown too. I think I lean Kenneth, but man, I think there's a big game from Ibuka coming soon before Evans returns.
Yeah, I like the matchup, though. I mean, one of them's got a hard matchup, number 12, the Saints. One of them's got an easy matchup, number 26, the Falcons. You look at the last few weeks, Kenneth Walker, without a touchdown, has been scoring 10-plus points, 10 points, 13 points. He's been scoring more than Charbonnet, who's been scoring the touchdowns on average. So for me, Ken Walker was one of my starts of the week for running backs, and I certainly like the upside. If he scores a touchdown, he's probably dropping you 17 points. So I would play Ken Walker if it was my team today.
Nice. Yeah, I do feel really good about Ken Walker, too. He's in my DraftKings lineup today. I want to get to this comment. One other thought I want to run by you here, Seth, and then we'll get to any final takes you have for the week before we let you go. I'm in on Devon Achane this week.
Oh, yeah.
A gross amount. I feel like I'm using him, Seth. I'm playing him over DK Metcalf on some of my teams. I think I was answering a start sit along those lines before you hopped on. Like him versus Brian Thomas Jr., like I kind of want to force Devon Achane in there too. I'm like weirdly bullish on Devon Achane because I think he's just a good player. Like I think he's actually good. He
looked great last week.
He had over 10 points in half of his game last season as a rookie, like not even playing half the snaps. We've now seen like kind of 3 real games from him. Didn't do much in his first game, ramped up a bit more in his second game. And in like his third game, he's starting to come on against the Dolphins. 8 catches, 93 yards, and a touchdown. He's going to be out there over 80% of the snaps. I feel really good about the Saints running a lot of plays and passing a lot. The Bucs have been a pass funnel defense. They're 7-point underdogs in this game too. Like it's the best matchup he's had since he's joined the team. It feels like this is like a good floor and ceiling. Like, am I crazy here with Devon Achane?
Well, if you're crazy, I am also crazy because in my league, 14-man league, I've got the 5th most points, 5th or 6th most points in a 14-man league. And if I lose this week, I could be in line for the punishment. I'm going to have to go to the playoff for the punishment. And that is putting on an inflatable eggplant suit and running 2 laps around a crowded park in downtown Nashville. I am not looking to get this punishment while the rest of the league and probably a bunch of our friends look on as well. And I am playing Devon Achane this week. I picked him up off the waiver wire. He is in my flex spot. I am trusting him. That is high stakes, folks. And I'm putting him in my lineup this week. So yeah, I'm locking him in. He looked amazing last week. I know the overtime and like if it didn't go to overtime, that high pace of the game, the need to pass was there. That helped a lot, but still, that's probably going to be the case again this week against a tough team. Olave being in, I think, actually helps a little bit as well. Like he doesn't need the focus of the number 1 guy, which I think allowed him to be pretty great last week. So I'm playing Achane in my leagues.
Yeah, I'm forcing him over like a lot of these guys. We have just barely ahead of him in the projections.
His upside is pretty big.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, and I think the floor is pretty sneaky too. I honestly think we're like projecting near his floor in this game. AD Mitchell, Chris Godwin, Luther Burden. Let's get to this start sit really quickly. I think this is pretty close. I think we already said Godwin over Burden in that previous.
Yeah, I would for boom potential.
But then AD Mitchell is really close to both these guys in projection too. Excuse me. Which side would you go with here between these two?
I would probably go AD Mitchell. I mean, if we look at his profile, I know last week he had the 12 targets because AJ Terrell was covering John Mechie, so he had a little bit of advantage there. But if you scroll over to the targets, you see he only had 2 receptions in week 12. But in the targets, he had 7. And the week before, he had 6. That's more than Godwin, especially, I think, is Mike Evans back this week as well?
No.
Right? So I think I'd go with Mitchell just because if he's going to get 6 to 7 targets, that's fantasy points. So I like that as well. And scoring a touchdown, Chris Godwin, AD Mitchell. I think AD Mitchell would be more likely to get you the touchdown. So that's who I would go with.
Yeah, it's definitely a really close one. It seems like since AD Mitchell got to the Jets, though, like they want him to be their wide receiver 1.
Yeah.
They're going to use him like that. They really are kind of forcing the ball to him a bit. So yeah, I think I'm okay going that way in that one as well. Seth, any other takes you wanted to? We had a need Devon Vele, God, please help.
Yeah, let's go. Me too, man.
Yeah, we are with you on this week 14 Sunday morning live. Any other takes, Seth, you wanted to get in? By the way, if you're just joining the YouTube live, guys, we're still just getting started. We're going to have Sam's on the live coming up in like 20, 30 minutes or so. We got tons and tons of start sits we're still going to get to. Make sure you hit that like button. If you're watching live on YouTube, hit the follow button. If you're watching live on TikTok and you can see Seth's voice, you want to see Seth's picture, you got to come to the YouTube live.
Yeah, hurry up, by the way, because I'm about to do my final takes.
Yeah, right in the TikTok bio. It's a better viewing experience. You can see everyone on screen. You can see the WalterPicks App on screen. We can pull up comments and stuff. Do recommend the YouTube live that you, of course, can tune in either place. All right. Seth,
final takes.
Last takes. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, so there's one fantasy tip and one take for you. So the fantasy tip is, guys, check your defenses for week 15, 16, 17. Now's the time where you can drop somebody. Someone else in your league will probably not be allowed to pick them up before the game. So if you want to drop somebody that you are worried about someone picking up and you want to add a defense for those weeks, like the Saints, Cowboys, Eagles, Chiefs, Texans, if they're available, I would certainly do that. And then the players to watch out for, 2 waiver wire guys, Tyrod Taylor, we talked about him a little bit earlier, and Marcus Mariota. I like his game as well. Those are 2 players. If you're not sure about your quarterback, they've got some rushing up. Oh, well, not Marcus Mariota. He's out. So I guess Jaden Daniels is in. But then I'll transition that to the Commanders wide receivers. That was one of the reasons I love Marcus Mariota before Jaden Daniels was ruled in, was both Debo, Josh Metellus matchup, second easiest on the week. Terry McLaurin against Isaiah Rodgers, who was great, who he's a quality player, but in terms of fantasy points per route run, he's been a little bit weaker with Minnesota, allowing teams to get so far ahead. Are they going to run? Are they going to pass? It's extremely difficult to play defense when you're down by that much. So I like both the Commanders wide receivers, and I like Tyrod Taylor this week as my takes of the week.
I like it. Yeah, Terry McLaurin was balling against the Broncos last week with Mariota at QB. Now Jaden Daniels is back. I don't think Jaden Daniels is going to run as much coming back. He's coming back from a fractured elbow in his non-throwing arm set. Similar thing with Justin Herbert. He's coming back from surgery on his non-throwing hand.
He's gonna have a cast on too, I think.
Yeah, if he even plays,
yeah, it's rough.
Still a legit chance he doesn't play. I think he does play, but like there's a better chance that he doesn't play than people realize.
Yeah, I'd play Tyrod Taylor over him in that case.
Herbert's a must bench. I do like Daniels though for the receiver reasons.
Yep.
Receiver matchups. Seth, thanks so much for hopping on, man. Appreciate all the takes, and good luck in avoiding that last place punishment this week with Devon Vele.
Yeah, thank you, and good luck to you guys this week. Hope you guys get what you need to make the playoffs.
Have a good one, Seth. Some great takes there from Seth. We're going to get back to all of the comments here, get into as many start sits as we possibly can. If I missed your super chat, by the way, I will try to get back to it. Okay, Vele, Hampton, Gainwell, Franklin, Flex, full PPR. Oh man, it's Vele versus Gainwell here. I don't think I'd force Hampton. I think he projects better than Vele and Gainwell, but I don't think I would do it. I think I'm going Vele. I'm going Vele here. I'm playing Vele over Gainwell and Hampton. I feel pretty good about the floor ceiling combo for Vele. How do you feel about Waddle today? I think he's a must start today. I dropped a super chat. Yes, Steady Profits. Let me know what that start sit was, and I will get to it. I promise. We pick one. Wide receiver pick 1 at Buckham, Myers, Vele, Flowers. Oh my goodness. I don't think we can go Vele in this one. I think we got to go Myers here. I think I'd go Jacoby Myers in this one. Thoughts on Pittman, DJ Moore, and Vidal? Yeah, so Pittman's playing the heavy rain. DJ Moore's playing without Rome Odunze, but in a tough matchup. And then Vidal is playing with Hampton. I really don't think you can go with Vidal. It really might be Pittman still in the rain. It's not like these guys can't throw it all in this rain. It's going to be heavy rain, but it's not like we're going to see 0 pass attempts or 0 completions in this game. You know, these guys can play in the rain. There's a lot of statistical evidence, showing that too. This is not just my opinion. God, I think it's Pittman. Yeah, I think it's Pittman. Winning in Vidal, Michael Carter, Algier, or Spears. My God. I think it's Vidal or Michael Carter there, not Algier or Spears. Honestly, I think it might be Michael Carter over Vidal. Let me do this one quick. Vidal versus Michael Carter. Yeah, it's Michael Carter. Go with Michael Carter. He definitely could get a bunch of catches in that game. Sam the man, few questions here for your expertise. Godwin or Sutton and Mason or Corum and Kincaid or Waller? Yeah, I'm going Kincaid over Waller, though I do like Waller as a sleeper. Godwin or Sutton, I think I lean towards Sutton there still. And then Mason or Corum, I actually think I'd go Corum over Mason. Playoffs, round 1 for me. We've got early playoffs here. Sharp, Worthy, Quentin Johnson at flex. My wide receivers are Pickens and Myers. It's probably Sharp to score here. I still think we're going to get a boom game from Worthy at some point. He actually projects a tiny bit better. Tough matchup, of course. Yeah, this is really tight. Yeah, it's Sharp for the floor, or I think it's Worthy for the ceiling. I don't think I'd go Quentin Johnson here. I'd play Worthy if you need a boom game, and I'd probably go with Sharp if you need to play it safe. Good morning, Sam and Seth. Alvin, how we doing? Can lock up 1C. Let's go. Start at Gibbs and Monty. Pick 2, Flowers, Harvey, Egbuka, DJ Moore. Already starting Bowers, Rice, Chase Brown. Yeah, you got to go Harvey here. And then it's Egbuka versus Flowers. I would not go DJ Moore over Egbuka or Flowers. Flowers, I think, is going to project slightly better. Yeah, these guys are right next to each other in the ranks. Yeah, Egbuka actually has a slight edge over Flowers. The matchup's better for Flowers. The role has been so good for Egbuka, though. I'm going Egbuka in this spot. Alvin, I think the ceiling is higher for Egbuka. Flowers has 1 end zone target this season. It came in week 1. Man, hasn't scored since week 1. Hasn't had an end zone target since week 1. I'm going Egbuka. I think his ceiling is like considerably higher. Appreciate the super chats from everyone. Do apologize if I missed any of the super chats. Shout out to all of you guys for supporting the live. Yeah, we already got to that one. Must win. Jacoby Myers or Terry McLaurin? Man, Jacoby projects really strong. But when you factor in the heavy rain, like this one gets really close. McLaurin has a tough matchup, but Jaden McDaniels is back. Jaden Daniels is back. McLaurin looked like himself last week. McLaurin had, against the Broncos, 796 and a touchdown, 23 fantasy points, with Mariota playing only half the snaps. Now he gets Jaden Daniels in another tough matchup. Oh, God, I actually think you might have to go McLaurin there over Jacoby Myers. I think I'd go McLaurin. Yeah, I think I'd lean McLaurin. Brenton Strange over Kelsey. T. Higgins, I think, over Egbuka too. Neal or Warren? I think you got to go Jalen Warren over Neal. Surprise defense day. Let me pull the defense ranks for you. I do think the Colts are an interesting one. Hashtag win to get in. Let's go. Win and in. Gainwell or Rodriguez? Yeah, it's Gainwell. Baker or Daniel Jones? Yeah, I think it's Baker. I think it's Baker over Daniel Jones. I don't want to start Daniel Jones in the rain. Need a win. Neil Monungai, Hampton. Yeah, these are really 3 rookies here. All startable. They're all startable. I think Monungai is going to project the worst. Hampton, I think, projects the best. He's probably the riskiest, though. It's hard to say Hampton's going to get like this huge role in his first game back. They gave him plenty of time, though. It's been 2 months for Hampton to come back, and the Eagles just allowed 250 rushing yards to the Bears. I think if you need a ceiling, you do go with Hampton. And if you're looking for the floor, you go with Devon Neal. Neal's going to have the highest snap percentage of these 3 by far. He's going to go over 80% of the snaps. Both these guys, Hampton and Monungai, they're going to be between like 35 and 50% of snaps. So, yeah, I think Hampton's the ceiling play, given the matchup and the player. But Neal is the floor play, given the snap percentage. Harvey or Judkins? Pull up this one here. Appreciate the super chats, guys. By the way, seriously, shout out to everyone who's done one of those on the YouTube live. We'll try to do my best to prioritize those. We got Aaron Jones, Swift, Waller or Kincaid. It's got to be Kincaid against the Bengals, guys. You got to play Kincaid against the Bengals. Kincaid is playing. He's playing the Bengals. You got to start him in like almost all spots. I'll hop over to the tight end ranks. Here, let me put the tight end ranks on the YouTube live too. The only thing I'm scared about with Dalton Kincaid is the verbiage that Schefter used. He said, "We'll try to play today." Not that he will play, but he'll try to play. Means he's playing, but like maybe a little bit at risk of re-injury with a hamstring. But yeah, if he plays the whole game, you want to start Kincaid against the Bengals. Aaron Jones, Swift, BTJ, and Lawrence. Yeah, you got to go Lawrence over Herbert. Even in the rain, Herbert's not going to run. He might not even play. Like, he might not play. And he's on Monday night, so you can't start him. Jones versus Swift. Jones gets a slight advantage here. Good. It's a good matchup for Jones. He's coming back from a shoulder injury, which is a little scary, but I do think I agree with Jones over Swift. Myers, Watson, Jaden Higgins, Neal. Yeah, I think you go Myers and Watson there for the ceiling. Yeah, Myers and Watson, especially if you're going against Gibbs. Win and in. One flex, one receiver. Monangai, Neal, Schultz, Ertz, Vele, Adonai, Luther, Higgins. If that's T. Higgins, you're going with T. Higgins. I assume it's Jaden Higgins based on the other receivers you're asking about, in which case I would go Vele. I'd go Vele over Adonai Mitchell, Luther Burden, and Jaden Higgins. I think Jaden Higgins is a bench and T. Higgins is a start here in week 14. And then Monangai versus Neal. We just talked through that one. I do think Neal is the safer play because Monangai's splitting the work and has the more difficult matchup too. I lean Neal over Monangai, though. I think you can make the argument that Monangai's ceiling is actually higher. Jacoby Brissett or Lamar Jackson. Man, here we are, week 14. You got to win. And we got Jacoby Brissett projected ahead of Lamar. And man, and this is another one of these spots here at the end of the season where it's like so tough to stomach getting this one wrong if you go Jacoby Brissett. He projects better. The Cardinals are 9.5-point underdogs at home versus the Rams. You got to expect a ton of pass volume here for Jacoby. But Lamar has not looked like himself. Lamar has historically, I think, struggled versus the Steelers. Seth seemed pretty confident in Lamar versus the Steelers today. Their defense hasn't been good most of the season. But man, I keep saying we're waiting for it. And every week we just don't see it. Under 8 points in 3 straight games from Lamar. I think I agree with the projections. I'd go Jacoby here, but it's such a tough one to stomach getting wrong. I have Myers and Strange starting. What do you think? Yeah, I'm not willing to let this rain move me entirely off all the players in this game. It's going to be heavy rain throughout the whole game. But Myers and Strange project so strong without Parker Washington out. The matchup's good for both of these guys. I still think I'm okay starting both of them. There's 2 sides to every start sit, so it does depend a little bit who you're starting them over. But yeah, I'm okay going with Myers and Strange this week. Playoffs week 1 for me. Yeah, some people starting playoffs here in week 14. Wide receiver 2, Ladd or Myers? Flex, Ladd, Myers, Woody, Monangai. God, yeah, I think I'm going Myers over Ladd, and then I'm playing Ladd in the flex here. I'm playing Ladd over Woody and Monangai. I'm assuming Herbert's playing. I do think he's going to play. Monangai, Pierce, or Aaron Jones? I think you bench Pierce, and you go Monangai, Aaron Jones there. All right, we're going to have Samps joining live here momentarily. Shout out to all the people sending the comments in the chat, guys. We're going to get to so many comments still left in this live. Still like an hour straight of comments. Once we get through some of Samps's take. Samps, week 14, Sunday morning. It's the last week of the fantasy regular season. Samps, I'm battling flu-like symptoms this morning on the live. So apologize for the scratchy voice, man. But how's it going? Great to have you on the live.
The Sam flu game. I'm ready for it. Let's see it. It's going to be your best week yet, I bet.
I'm good for one. I'm good for one a season usually, and I think it's good timing here right before the fantasy playoffs for me. But yeah, pumped to talk through week 14. It's a very interesting slate. Some really brutal start sits. I think you might have just heard that one Brissett versus Lamar. You know, we got questions like AJ Brown versus Devon Vele that we're battling through here on the week 14 slate. Some really difficult ones. Some weather to talk through as well. But I'll let you have the floor here, Sam. Any strong takes you have for us off the cuff here?
You kind of asked how I was feeling about this week or how I'm feeling right now. My strong take, maybe I just hate fantasy because in the 32-person league, Ryan Flournoy dropped 30 points on me on Thursday, and that just makes it really hard to carry on. It makes it very difficult, but that's where we're at. I'll say I'm going to start with my super hot take of the no-namer. Like, we're going to start with that. I think today we're going to see some consistent production from Devon Tompkins of the Atlanta Falcons. They assigned him to the active roster, and they're going to be playing from behind in this game. He only had 2 catches last week, but they signed him to the active roster. It doesn't – I'm just saying, don't be surprised if you're like, who's this Tompkins guy, and why is he catching 5-6 passes?
Is he – you think he's on the DraftKings slate?
Maybe. He probably is, because he was signed to the active roster. I wouldn't be surprised if they added him, but
Isaiah Hodgins like call off the cuff here from Sam's. Devon Tompkins. Didn't he used to play on the Bucks? I feel like I've seen
He did. Ball knower. He was on the Bucks.
Wow.
But I just think in the game script, it can't be Mooney. That for some reason this staff doesn't like Kadero Hodge. There's been stuff going on there. So I mean, I think we see something. I was reading the tea leaves, so we'll start with that. And for more exciting, picks, I think RJ Harvey's in for a great game. It's not exactly a hot take against the Raiders, but I think RJ Harvey's a smash.
Yeah, I was in on Harvey last week, and he did go over 20 points. He was the running back too on the week last week, and I still left the game kind of disappointed. He didn't have a ton of rushing yards. It was it's just so tough to stomach watching these games and rooting for Harvey and watching Bidet and McLaughlin mix in. They also threw a ton in that game versus the Commanders, which I was pretty surprised about. I actually kind of like the Raiders defense on DraftKings today. They're the minimum priced defense. And there's some defenses twice their price on the slate that I think are going to have higher ownership. The last time these two teams played was week 10, and the Broncos scored 10 points in that game. They won 10-7. Bo Nix threw 2 picks. I know, kind of an interesting minimum price defense play, I think. But yeah, I do like Harvey's chances to score again this week. I don't know how you don't. I think he's like minus 200 even to score on the prop. So yeah, I do like Harvey as a must start. We have him at running back 10, just behind Genty in that same game. Definitely could see him outscoring Genty in that one as well. So yeah, I like the Harvey call. It's just, God, it's so tough to watch McLaughlin and Bidet get so much work.
I kind of like Harvey because I do think the game's going to be more competitive than it should be. The Broncos are like that every single week. I think it kind of helps RJ Harvey, and they're fighting for the number 1 seed right now. Like, it's them and the Patriots who are probably going to end up with it. So I think they got to play their best guys and, get the job done against the Raiders.
Let's jump to this. This starts it quick, Sam's, then we'll get back to some of your takes. Win for the bye. Getting the bye in fantasy, Sam's, is like one of the most underrated advantages in fantasy football. You double your chance to win your league by getting the bye. The math is actually just that simple. If you assume every matchup in the playoffs is 50-50, like you basically just doubled your odds to make and win the championship. So it's a huge deal. Schultz, Vele, Juwan, Brian Thomas Jr. I don't know how you would start Schultz here, Sam's. I really think it's between these other 3. You got to start 2 of these guys. But 2 of these guys are on the Saints and are both in my DraftKings lineup in a couple of them with Tyler Shuck.
I'm ready for that.
I like the Vele Shuck Juwan stack. We'll get to my DFS stuff in a second, Sam's. It's gross for me this week. But then Brian Thomas,
this 3 players tells me it's gross.
Brian Thomas is in this as well, and he's definitely on this list of guys like Lamar and like AJ Brown and a few other guys that you spend a first round or second round pick on. Here you are in week 14, these must win games, and you might start Vele or Juwan Johnson over them. It's just so tough to stomach getting that one wrong. But Brian Thomas Jr. is playing in the pouring rain the entire game. We have Jacoby Myers projected ahead of him, even as is. Juwan is like the most underrated tight end, I think, in fantasy. The floor has been so good. He's, I think, 4th in targets, or 4th or 5th in targets per game. This season, he's 7th in targets per game. He's got the 4th most air yards per game, but the floor has been so strong. He hasn't gone under 8.9 in 6 straight games. He's got 11 catches for almost 100 yards this last 2. Good game environment versus the Bucs. I really like Vele this week too, though. Like I'm like scared about how in I am on Devon Vele across all my fantasy lineups this week, but it feels like the floor and ceiling's there for him too. And God, Brian Thomas Jr. 2nd game back, he got outproduced by Jacoby last week. Yeah, which 2 will you start here, Sam's?
I like Juwan as the safety blanket sort of option. I don't know what this person's like projection is in their matchup, but I'm curious. Maybe we implement the whole 2 running back from the same team thing and go with Juwan and Vele. They combine for 25 maybe, and you're like chilling with that.
Yeah, I'm fine with that
that's
too.
Pretty good.
Yeah, they're going to combine for at least 12 targets, like at least. Should I drop Addison or Booty? I'd probably drop. Oh God, I mean, this brings up the whole Vikings.
I don't want to drop Booty. Booty looks so good in against the Giants.
Yeah.
He's going to be a big part of the rest of the way, I think.
It probably is Addison. I mean, the schedule for the Vikings is so good, but I think like best case, it's Jefferson that smashes, and I don't think we can trust Addison much. Sam's plus WalterPicks won me last year, and now fighting for second place by start 4, please. DK, Zay, Michael Wilson, BTJ, DJ Moore, Terry. What's your absolute lock props of the day? So yeah, this is a good segue to my favorite props, Sam's, to get your opinion on those. But this is a bench 1. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's bench 2 out of these 6 guys. I think you probably bench DJ Moore and then maybe DK. I mean, you can't bench Michael Wilson. Like absolute no benching Michael Wilson today across any question. Michael Wilson should not be in questions today. He's our wide receiver 5. There's no Marvin Harrison Jr. There's no Greg Dortch. There's not even any Xavier Weaver for the Cardinals. I mean, the Cardinals.
It's not good.
So decimated. They're also.
I think they got Trent Sherfield playing today. Like they're really bottom of the barrel.
They also are the biggest underdogs of the day at 9.5 points. So I mean, you kind of have to start Michael Wilson, like no matter what. I want to start Terry McLaurin with Jaden Daniels.
I think you have to.
Yeah, and then Zay Flowers.
Yeah, I don't like Zay. I don't like Zay this week. To me, he has not looked good, and he makes these dumb decisions in the game where you're just like, he's gonna lose playing time or something. He's just like, what is he doing? So I think in this question, I would sit Zay and BTJ, but I could definitely see playing BTJ over DK if you're not super worried about the rain.
Oh God, these guys are all project like in such a similar tier. I mean, it's really close between all these receivers. Honestly, the matchup is good for Zay. But yeah, I mean, he doesn't score touchdowns too, Sam. So he's got 1 end zone target since week 1. Sorry, 1 end zone target this season. It came in week 1. Is 0 since week 2. Like he's just not scoring touchdowns. The matchup on paper, I think, is the best here for Zay of all these guys. But
yeah,
I'm still waiting for the big Metcalf game. Like, just isn't coming. I still think it is gonna come, but I mean, we haven't seen it. DJ Moore without a Dunze, I could get behind, I think, but the matchup's pretty tough for the Bears receivers today too. I think you probably bench Zay and DJ Moore.
It's just like a matter. Do you think the Bears can run the ball effectively against the Packers? If you do, then maybe don't go DJ Moore. But I'm a little skeptical they can go for 280 or whatever it is. Again, that feels kind of unlikely.
Sam, so I'm going to jump to my free player props. I'll talk through those for a second. Get your opinion on them. I'll talk through my DFS stuff, then we'll get back to starts it, and we'll jump to any other takes you have if we haven't gotten them already in any of that. There might be some overlap here. So my 3 free player props today, we are 66%, Sam's, on the season. This is a pretty high percentage to try to maintain. We got to go at least 2 for 3 here. Ideally 3 for 3. So I like the Bucky Irving over rushing yards, 69.5. I think he goes over 100 rushing yards today versus the Saints. He only played 55% of snaps last week, still saw 17 carries. The snap percentage was at 53%, still saw 17 carries. If he sees 17 carries in this game, Sam, he's smashing this prop. I think you could get 20 plus carries in this game. I thought he actually looked pretty good, even though his yards per carry was only at 3.6 in that game versus the Cardinals. And we've seen many running backs go over 100 rushing yards versus the Saints defense in the last month. So I like Bucky a lot in this spot. Tony Pollard under 49.5 rushing yards. I'm honestly just a little surprised by this line against the Browns in the snow. The snow's not going to impact this game a lot, but Pollard has had either 10 or 11 carries, I think, in 5 straight games. Like he's getting 10 or 11 like max in this game versus the Browns. They're underdogs. They're playing the soon-to-be single-season sack leader with their most sacked quarterback in the league. The Browns are allowing under 4 yards a carry. This line suggests he's going over 5 yards a carry in this game, right? If he's only getting 10 carries, they set this line to 50 yards. I just do not see him going over 5 yards a carry in this game. I don't even see him going over 4. I think there's a really good chance he goes under 10 carries as well, which he hasn't done in many games. So I like this under for Pollard a lot as well. And then Justin Jefferson, getting to a good segue to my DFS lineups where I'm also playing Justin Jefferson. I think this is a spot where the goal and the plan for JJ McCarthy is just so clear. Like it's just, you got to funnel as many targets as you can to Justin Jefferson. You have to try to get this disgruntled receiver to be a little less disgruntled. And there's not a better matchup, arguably, for it to happen. I mean, this schedule, like down the stretch of the season, is just unreal for the Vikings. I think this is like arguably the best 4 matchups that you could have. The Commanders technically ranked like 6th, but they're dealing with a bunch of injuries. There's not anyone on the Commanders defense that can stop Justin Jefferson. Like it's JJ McCarthy versus JJ McCarthy in this game. And if he can just get some on-target throws to Justin Jefferson, I think he's smashing over 100 receiving yards. I think you could have a really, really big game on a lot of volume. So yeah, I like him over 65.5 receiving yards. I really think he's going to be capable of beating this in the first half of this game and like really having one of the bigger Justin Jefferson games, the biggest maybe of the season. We haven't seen him go over 100 yards since week 5 of the season. I am running some JJ McCarthy Jefferson stacks because this is a very correlated duo. And if Jefferson does have a big game, like I'm saying, no one's playing JJ McCarthy Samps on DraftKings. I mean, the name JJ McCarthy has so much stink on it right now that I think his ownership is going to come in sub 5%. And I get to stack him with one of the best receivers in the league against one of the worst defenses in the league. And I get to bring it back with McLaurin too. So this is the DFS lineup I'm rocking with. And so I'm going with exclusively JJ McCarthy and Tyler Shuck stacks in DFS. And Seth has been thinking about some Tyrod Taylor stacks as well. I mean, it's a pretty ugly week in DFS, but I do like those like low priced QBs. I just went through a lot there, Samps. Any rebuttals or things you agreed with there?
Thinking back to where you started, I think Bucky Irving's going to smash this week. You know my feelings about Bucky Irving. It's just he's awesome, and it's going to be a great day for him, no doubt about it in my mind. I said earlier I like Terry McLaurin, so I like him in this lineup. Michael Wilson's obviously just too cheap because they still thought Marvin Harrison was probably going to play. Right. I'm personally going the Josh Allen route in DFS. I think you can actually afford it this week with some of these cheaper options.
Yeah.
Like I think if you're confident in someone like Isaiah Likely against the Steelers, he's a cheap tight end you can throw in there. My favorite DFS defense is probably the Titans in that snow game. They're like near minimum also. So my original lineup had Shuck in it, but then I thought about it for a minute and I said, do I want to spend money on Tyler Shuck? And I said no. So I went to Josh Allen. I feel better about that. But I mean, McCarthy can run. So like there's certainly like if he doesn't look like the worst quarterback in the world, aka Max Brosmer, he could be okay for your lineup. So the Jefferson yards one, I hope you're right. I hope you're on like track with him bouncing back because I need him. Traded for him a few weeks ago and it's been pretty stinky. But yeah, I also like the Colts defense in the rain. That's pretty interesting. Trevor Lawrence could turn the ball over a time or two.
Yeah, I kind of got pushed to the Colts defense in this lineup, just pricing wise. That was kind of just what was left. And yeah, in the rain, I think like they're kind of interesting. I think we have them projected above as a pretty good value at their current price. Getting James Cook too into the lineup, like James Cook I feel like his floor is 100 rushing yards in this game. I mean, his odds score are minus 250. Like, I mean, I think he has the highest touchdown odds like on the whole slate at running back, and he's not the highest priced running back on the slate too. So, I mean, I really like getting him into the lineup too. It's kind of a pivot off of not playing Josh Allen if you're not going to play him, but I agree. I mean, Josh Allen, I got the QB ranks up on the TikTok live. Let me pull them up on the YouTube live here too. Again, this week, he's just in his own tier. Like last week, I talked about it too. It didn't end up really coming to fruition for DFS, but he's in his own tier. I mean, 4 points ahead of QB2 Stafford on the slate. I mean, it's not even really close. And this game, Sam, it's going to be moderate snow. There's going to be like 1 to 3 inches of snow. It's going to snow the entire game. It's going to snow a little bit before the game, and it's going to be cold enough that the snow is probably going to stick. Like it's one of these weird cases where this might actually be good for the offenses and make it difficult for the defenses to have like good footing as the offensive players are cutting. The over-under in this game, Samps, has not moved at all. It opened at 49.5 or 48.5. It's still right. Not moved the scoring projection, which also kind of bodes to what I'm saying there. So yeah, Josh Allen he could be in for a 40-point game. Would not be that crazy. I also think James Cook could be in for a 40-point game. Like one of these two guys is going over 30 points today versus the Bengals. So yeah, I do like getting at least one of them into your DFS lineups. To me, James Cook's the easier one, especially if you're going down at QB. Like I'm hunting the quarterback position here, but yeah, definitely agree on Michael Wilson's ownership. It's going to be like 40-50%, maybe. It's going to be like really, really high. I don't know how you don't play him with everything going on in that game in the Cardinals, just in general. But any other takes you didn't get off your chest yet, Samps?
Yeah, so the Bills have allowed, I think it's 4 running backs this season to go 28 or more points. And I think that's certainly within the range of outcomes for Chase Brown today. And for the same reasons you said Josh Allen and James Cook could do well, I think Chase Brown's going to dominate. And perhaps my favorite player of the entire week, and it's not exactly a hot take, but like Devon Achane, I said Jahmyr Gibbs was going to go scorched earth a few weeks ago against the Giants. That was true. I think Devon Achane goes scorched earth against the Jets. He's going to dominate screen game, running attack. Jets really have nobody on the planet who can stop Devon Achane on their defense, not even close.
Yeah, I mean, it's notable that we don't have James Cook as running back 1, because I think James Cook is going to go scorched earth against the Bengals too, but Achane still projects just ahead of him at 22.9. And yeah, I definitely agree. The ceiling here is 40 plus. We just saw him do it against the Bills a couple weeks back. He's been over 120, at least 120 rushing yards in 3 straight. He had no catches last week, and he still was the running back 6. He's seen 21 plus carries in 3 straight games. Like suddenly he's like this workhorse volume rusher. And I do think both the Jets and the Dolphins should be able to lean on the run in this game. Like I think it's gonna be a pretty run heavy game. I know that the Jets like finally can complete some passes. I know we've talked about that in the past lives. This is why I was on the Mechie prop last week, which is was honestly kind of a miracle of a hit in that game, late in that game. We had a couple late hits last week and actually just missed a 5 for 5 week. We'll take the late hits when they come. But yeah, Achane ceiling is just insane in this spot versus the Jets. I mean, both of them are like out projecting JT by over 2 points. I mean, pretty crazy stuff. Obviously, JT and Bijan, they got tougher matchups today. But yeah, I like both these guys. And honestly, like with the pricing on DraftKings today, you can get both these guys in your lineup. And you toss in Vele and Michael Wilson, and like suddenly, and one of those cheaper quarterbacks, like you can definitely build teams like that today, which is pretty intriguing.
Yeah, I mean, I have in my FanDuel lineup, I have Josh Allen, Devon Achane, Chase Brown, Michael Wilson, Devontae Adams, and RJ Harvey, and it's like it feels really good because I have Luther Burden in there. I think Luther Burden can produce. If he has a ceiling game, this lineup's going to go insane. So. I mean, there's a lot of affordability. I don't know why they priced Michael Wilson so low. I mean, I know he wasn't great, but yeah, it didn't make much sense to me.
Monungai, Pierce, and Aaron Jones. I'm a little bit worried about Aaron Jones coming off the shoulder injury, Sam. I thought he was going to miss a game because he missed half last week, and he's got a history of injuries. But the matchup is so good here versus the Commanders. I mean, the matchups for the Vikings, these next 3 games are just unreal. It's hard to.
It's just these matchups are great if it's led by an offense that can move the ball and effectively do that and establish the run. I don't know if the Vikings will be able to establish the run when they have 9 at quarterback. I don't know. For me, I don't know how you don't start Monungai. And I know he was dealing with an injury, but like he looks like a dog. Every time he plays, he's an animal. And he just scorched the Eagles, who that game alone single-handedly put them at 21. They weren't at 21 before that game. They're at 21 after that game. Right. And so I Ben Johnson, if he wants to beat the Packers in Lambeau, it's not because Caleb Williams is going to torch him, which has me a little worried about Luther Burden, but it's kind of like, he's too, he's cheap, he's top guy maybe, but these running backs, I think you got to go Monungai. And the rain with Pierce is kind of a concern too, because he's the deep threat. If there's anything you're worried about in the rain, it's potentially a deep threat, like being effective.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think Pierce is probably the most affected player, honestly, in the game with the rain. This honestly brings me to BTJ probably over him, like pretty confidently this week. I'm okay going Monungai over Aaron Jones too in that spot. I think it's close enough. And yeah, I mean, the Bears offense runs through the rushing attack right now. It's been super successful. And we have seen the Packers run defense at times struggle this season. That Rico Dowdle game, I think most notably.
Giants ran on them a lot too with Singletary and Tracy. They've kind of been struggling recently.
Yeah, I mean, it's like in their defensive line and their corners are so good too. It makes sense to like really just kind of go for it, see if you can beat them on the ground and keep the game closer than expected. I want to talk through like just some of the games in general, Sam's, because there's a lot of underdogs that I think could win today, definitely cover today, and the Bears are one of them. Let's get to the start sit real quick, and then I'll jump to some of those thoughts. Alec Pierce, Vele, Mitchell, or Neal at flex. Yeah, Sam's, to me, it's these two Saints. it's Bailey versus Neal, and Neal's the floor. I feel like Bailey's got a pretty good floor too. There's like what 4 or 5 running backs you could point to today that you're going to say they're going to play over 80% of the snaps, and Devon Neal is one of those guys. So like his floor is actually pretty good. He's got 8 targets in his last 2 games total as well. So like he's getting targets. He's playing almost every snap. The matchup's not terrible for him. I think the matchup for Bailey is better though. Yes, I would lean Bailey for the ceiling, Neal for the floor. I'd bench Mitchell and Pierce here. Is that how you play it too, or do you have a different take?
I think in this one I would go Devon Neal. I said I was in on him last week. He had the workload to be right, but he just didn't put it together. I think he's going to do well today. I think they want him to catch a pass. They're going to need to get some quick stuff out there though against the Bucs. So I go Devon Neal, just workload. Vele's solid too, but I trust the workload for Neal more. Taysom Hill, I kind of said it last week. Well, going back through the live, like he's like 1 yard a carry, and Kellen Moore hates him. So yeah, I'm just completely done with Taysom Hill for the rest of my life. So
he did outscore
Devon Neal.
He outscored.
He did. I dropped him into 32 as one of those like little bomb things I was talking about last week. Someone else can pick him up and play him. Good luck to you. So
let me talk through the underdogs. I think that very well could win today. So the Jets, they're 2.5-point underdogs at home. I think they're pretty on par with the Dolphins, and they're at home. I definitely think they're capable of winning that one. The Jags are 1.5-point favorites. Sorry, 1.5-point underdogs at home versus the Colts in a heavy rain game. These two teams feel pretty comparable. They actually have the same record at 8-4 as well. I think the Jags are capable of winning that one. I think the Vikings plus 1.5 against the Commanders for those reasons I'm in on Justin Jefferson. I mean, if I'm right about that, they definitely are capable of winning this game against the Commanders, and Jane Daniels is probably not going to run quite as much. The Falcons are 6.5-point underdogs at home versus the Seahawks. The Falcons have played to their level of competition, I feel like, all season. They beat the Bills, they lose to the Panthers. Like, I feel like this is going to be a closer game than people expect against the Seahawks. The defense for the Seahawks, too, they've been at their worst stopping receiving work to the running backs. They're playing Bijan. And they've also been worst against tight ends. The defense generates a lot of pressure, but I think we see Bijan and Pitts have pretty good games here, and the Falcons defense might surprise some people too. I think the Bengals at +6 in Buffalo, definitely think they're capable of winning in that game too.
100%.
Even though I don't see the Bills offense getting stopped. I'm kind of in on Joe Burrow and kind of want to force him. I think the Raiders at +7.5 at home, they lost by 3 to the Broncos. The Broncos, like you said, they keep playing these close games. Like they're kind of playing with fire. I think they're honestly like pretty big pretenders in the NFL. Like I do not think the Broncos are Super Bowl contenders, like Super Bowl winning contenders by any means, even with how good their defense is. I think the Bears +6.5 in Green Bay, they're capable of winning as well. I mean, I just listed like 6 or 7 underdogs there, Sam. So I think all those teams are like in play. Yeah, we get one of those unintentional. I mean, yeah, any of those games stand out to you the most as some potential underdogs, or any of those you disagree with?
Don't know how many people in the chat are subscribed to the WalterPicks newsletter, but in the mega preview I wrote this week, my favorite upset of the week was the Bears 6.5. I wrote them to cover, not necessarily win. I just think with how they're running the ball, I'd be really surprised if they lost by that much. Their defense is forcing turnovers. They're getting healthier. They're getting guys back. I think the line is not a great one, and it's kind of weird. The odds aren't great on it, so I feel like they kind of agree that it's not a great line. So yeah. I really like that, and I kind of disagree. I think the Broncos are probably going to dominate. I think that when you play a team a second time, especially a bad team, I don't see it. But all the other ones are very in play, I think.
We got a Justin Jefferson versus Luther Bird and Lad McConkey question here, Sam. So I think Lad actually projects the best in the app over Jefferson. Yeah. I'm on the Jefferson train this week. I got him over 65.5 receiving yards. I'm not benching him. Would you consider benching him in this spot?
I mean, I feel like you have to consider it just because he's been so terrible, but I don't know if I would in this situation. I think I'd start him over Burden, and I'd probably start him over McConkey because I don't know what Justin Herbert's going to look like. Right. The Eagles are looking to bounce back. They're reeling. They're in a tough situation. Who knows? I think I love Lad McConkey. I was super in on him as a rookie as well. Was super excited when he went to the Chargers. He's been great, but I think you got it. If you can only pick one, because the person asked who's the best receiver. Well, if the question is who's the best receiver, it's Justin Jefferson. I don't know if it's in fantasy or not, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to Justin Jefferson with like a decent amount of confidence there.
Yeah.
Today, win, I'm in. Need upside.
Uh-oh.
Well or Waller. Yeah, so I talked about Waller as like he's notable this week. Tight end there's a decent amount of good tight ends, it feels like this week. After Juwan Johnson and like Travis Kelce, though, there's like a big tier, and I honestly think Darren Waller might be in it. We have him ranked down at tight end 23 right now, Samps. He was first game back last week after missing like a month plus. He had 7 points, only 2 catches. He only played 47% of snaps, though. I think we see him get closer to that 60% range he was in these 2 games. First game he played the season against the Jets. 3 catches, 2 touchdowns in that game. Had 18 points, was the tight end 4. He's at a 30% touchdown rate. Yeah, 33% touchdown rate this season on pretty low volume, but kind of interesting. I don't know if you can start him over Gainwell, though. I mean, Gainwell's like in a pretty good spot and in a really good role. I think I'd probably still go Gainwell there.
Well, they said they need upside. Gainwell scored over 30 points twice. That's the answer. I think he definitely can go with what he did last week and get like 6 points, but he certainly has that capability. And I said it all week. The Ravens are the type of team that are going to get gashed by Kenneth Gainwell, and all the Ravens fans will be like, what is going on? Who is this guy? What's going on here? I also want to call out one of our highly identified or high value props identified in the WalterPicks app, Devon Tompkins, plus 3,000 to score a touchdown. So just throwing it out there.
Unreal.
So he's going to go for 0. But yeah, it's going to be real funny when he goes off. That'd be the best clip I ever have.
Week 14 already. How? Yeah, Joey, the NFL season always moves at just like a different pace compared to the rest of the year or over 3 months in. Week 14, and I talked about this with Seth earlier in live, but Sam, it's like we spend so much time grinding all year, really like most of the year, and draft season especially, all these seasons in the week, and it comes down to just these 4 weeks. You got to win week 14 in a bunch of cases to get the bye or to get into the playoffs, and that's just 3 games. It comes down to just 3 weeks. All of this work, man. It is the most exciting time, honestly, of the year to see it all come to fruition. All right, we got Franklin, Burden, or Mitchell, full PPR. Franklin, Burden, or Mitchell. Oh man, this is an interesting one. I've been telling a lot of people to bench Franklin, Samps, and he's a guy that is capable of a ceiling, but he got out targeted by Pat Bryant in his last game, and Sutton is still there to be the main target any given game too. And God, I don't feel good about him at all. Then you have Luther Burden, a tough matchup but a better role. Noah Dunze. I feel like every week I'm saying this, Sam. So like we're heading into a week where Burden's guaranteed to see his biggest role. And again, I feel like that's true with Noah Dunze now. He hasn't played over 51% of the snaps yet this season, Luther Burden. He probably does today get 60, 70%. Zacchaeus will mix in too, but that was percentage. That doesn't quite count. And then AD Mitchell is coming off the best game of these 3 too. So yeah, it's a close one. Luther Burden projects the best for us. I honestly think I'd put Franklin 3rd here, but yeah, how would you approach this one?
I don't know what the weather is in the Miami game. I'm not fully
not concerned. No concern.
Okay, we're not concerned. I think Mitchell's interesting. If you're looking for like the ceiling guy, Burden, I think, is somewhere in between Franklin and Mitchell, I feel. So I go with either Burden or Mitchell, I think. I think Pat Bryant's someone to really look at in dynasty leagues. He's really looked good when he gets the ball, and I think his role is steadily growing. So just putting that out there too.
He was getting Michael Thomas comps from Sean Payton before this season too, which is just like really hard to ignore from Sean Payton specifically. Yeah. I think I lean Luther Burden here, but AD Mitchell's in play, and I would not play Franklin. I don't think in this spot. It feels like the Jets really want AD Mitchell to be like their number 1 right now. That's just how they're using him. And even in the games where he hasn't done well, the targets have been there. He's had at least 6 targets in 3 straight now. But yeah, I'm in on Luther Burden here. I've been on the talent tier all season, so it feels like, again, another week where I just kind of have to have some faith in the talent showing out here for Luther Burden. Superflex League, should I start any of these before Cam Ward? Oh God, probably. Mitchell.
I'm going to say no. Going to say no. I think because I made that mistake last week, overthinking whether I benched Brock Purdy in a Superflex, and it did not work out for me.
Look at this. It's close. He's right in there projection wise. To me, this one has nothing to do about weather. the weather is not going to impact this game. It's going to be like a visual thing where there's going to be some light snow like throughout the game that you can see in the game. It's not going to stick. Like it's not going to be a lot of snow. It's like maybe will be a little wet, and that just doesn't scare me at all. But he's playing like this is the most sacked QB versus the guy about to break the all-time single season sack record. And just like this is just such a bad matchup on paper for the Titans. But yeah, it was close. I probably would play him over AD Mitchell. But yeah,
just the floor and ceiling, it could have, and what was it? Myles Garrett said he's aiming for 4 sacks this game. He said that. So I'm a little, if there's anyone I trust to do something like that, it's probably Myles Garrett. He scares me.
Yeah. I mean, if you're the Titans, you got to come in and you got to double team him.
Chip him every play, double team and chip him, like triple team, like make someone else beat you.
Your madness here. Half PPR, Jalen Hurts, Brissett, Shuck. Let's start here, Sams. The QBs are really, I think, tough this week. We got Jaden Daniels in his first game back. We got him projected as QB3. And I don't think he's going to run Jaden Daniels in his first game back. So I'm like a little scared about that, but I like the matchup for him. McLaurin is back too. So like I want to start Jaden Daniels. I know this question is not about him. We have Jalen Hurts at QB5 ahead of Brissett and Shuck. I think I'd rank them in this order: Hurts, then Brissett, then Shuck. And then you got a bench 2, Wicks, Vele, Quentin Johnson, AD Mitchell. I'm not benching Vele here, Sams. I'm not doing it.
Okay.
I think you probably bench Quentin Johnson and Wicks. But I mean, all these guys are somewhat comparable.
Yeah, I think Reed's back for the Packers, which hurts Wicks. Golden, I don't know about yet.
He's a true questionable.
I would go Vele and Mitchell to play, not to bench. And yeah, you were right about the quarterback. I agree 100% with the quarterbacks. You play Jalen Hurts. He just has too much like running, and he gets a little bit too much hate, I think. So I'd go with Jalen Hurts over those 2 guys pretty confidently. The last one's tough though. That part's actually no, it's not a start question. It's a pick up or keep. You're keeping Darren Waller. That playoff schedule is unbelievable. So that's not even a tough question. That's easy.
Samps, we got just a couple pieces of news here from right before you hopped on, or right after you hopped on, I think. Marquez Valdes-Scantling and Adam Thielen active for the Steelers. Roman Wilson inactive, healthy scratch. And report from Glazer says Adam Thielen, Marquez Valdes-Scantling could play a lot for the Steelers here in Week 14. We got Roger's friend there with Marquez Valdes-Scantling. I agree with
He's
the
friends
Waller.
with Adam Thielen too. I think they go on vacation together or something.
My God, yeah. I mean, I'm playing Vele over DK Metcalf, and I'm not changing my mind there. And in Hampton, Vele, or Burden.
Easy one to make.
Yeah, I'm very curious which way you're going with this, Sam's. I feel like the Hampton stuff is honestly kind of tough for me this week because I mean the Eagles just got smashed by the Bears run attack. I think the Bears run attack's been really good though. Like there's definitely some credit to the Bears. I like Hampton a lot as a player, but it's his first game back, and Vidal played really well last week. Like it's probably going to be close to 50-50. And I like Vele and Burden too, but it is half PPR. Yeah, which one would you go with here? You said this was easy for you.
Yeah, I feel like my consistent thread for me is if someone's back, they're back. Was in about Bucky last week.
This season, yeah.
Hampton, the Eagles have stunk against running backs. They have it's the scary jersey. They got the good name value on defensive line, and I'm not worried about it, especially with the QB issues. I think they go very run heavy. I think they try to do what the Bears did last week. They have 2 running backs, similarly to Monangai and Swift.
Yeah.
Who can get the job done? I think this is easy. If the other 2 were a little bit more, consistent and exciting, I would be like, okay, Burns exciting, but you know what I mean. It's Hampton, I think.
Yeah, that's fair. It's also half PPR does, I think, make it a decent amount easier as well. Yeah, gosh, I
agree.
I feel like I've had a tendency this season to go against the guys in the first game back, and I've been wrong more than I've been right this season with that. It also feels like these teams are really giving these guys like a lot of time to come back. They're not rushing them. Like these guys aren't being rushed back. Like Bucky had so much time. Hampton's been out 2 months. Like these guys are coming back at 100%. All right, Tyler Shuck or Tyrod Taylor. Seth called out Tyrod Taylor as one of his favorite sleepers of the week versus the Dolphins. I do like Shuck as well. I'm playing him in DFS. Let me pull up the Shuck stuff here. It feels like the Saints for fantasy have been pretty underrated all season. They're playing at a fast pace. Look at how many completions Shuck has over his last couple of games. 56 completions Samps over his last 2 games. I mean, just like they're producing so many fantasy points from this offense because they're playing fast, they're throwing a lot, and they're completing passes. Shuck, only 26 total points in those 2 games. So like himself hasn't scored a ton of fantasy points, but he's producing an offense that can score fantasy points. And then Tyrod Taylor against the Dolphins, kind of interesting. But yeah, I lean Shuck here personally. It's definitely close. We have Taylor projected ahead. Seth definitely would say Taylor with what he was saying earlier in the live too. Which side would you go with?
In the same email I mentioned earlier in the WalterPicks newsletter, if you're not subscribed, go subscribe. But I mentioned my sleeper quarterback of the week is Tyler Shuck. He's rushing. I think he's on 5 or more rushes in like 3 of his last 4 games, something like that. They're gonna be playing from behind. If I'm a Saints fan, if they have a good offseason, I would low-key be like a little bit optimistic about what I've seen from Tyler Shuck. Obviously, he's had some rookie mistakes, but he's looked way better than a lot of people gave him credit for in the draft process. And I think I'd go Tyler Shuck. And earlier you were saying the season does fly by and we're thinking about like the playoffs or whatever. I was literally thinking this morning about how I want to go and watch Fernando Mendoza film for our rookie guide when we put that out, the Indiana quarterback who beat Ohio State yesterday. I was thinking I want to watch some of his film and see where we have him at in our rookie guide for next season. And I compare the fantasy season and the fantasy playoffs to like the MLB. You play 162 games just to get to the wild card and lose a 3-game series because you lost 2 games. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, it really is wild. Yeah, I think I lean Shuck, but it's close. It's definitely close. Bailey, DJ Moore, Burden.
Wow, that's a tough one.
Yeah, where are you at with DJ Moore versus Burden? Because we have DJ Moore, I think, just slightly ahead of Burden in the app, but it's really close. I personally prefer Burden, but like I understand the argument for DJ Moore. I think they both have like similar ceilings, but I like Bailey this week too, so it's a close one.
Specifically Moore versus Burden, I'm with Walter. I like DJ Moore a little bit more, just trust him a little bit more. He's more reliable in a huge game for them. But it's sort of like a much worse version of like a Monrod JMO sort of thing. Same system, sort of. I think I'd lean DJ Moore if I'm looking for the safer option out of those two. Vele's targets are undeniable, though. And if we like that offense and the completions and the game script, he's a red zone target too. Vele's a big guy. Like, he's a big dude. He had a great 2-point conversion. They like him in the red zone. I like Devon Vele.
I like Vele this week, Samps. I told you I'm forcing it a bit with him. I'm okay forcing him into the lineup this week too. I'm playing him over Metcalf in one league. I'm playing him over Bam Knight in another one of my leagues. I'm playing him in DFS. At his price there, feels like a no-brainer. He had over 20 points last week. I personally like Burden more than DJ Moore, but I get the argument for Moore. He probably has a higher snap percentage than Burden, and despite like DJ Moore's probably not coming off the field.
He's a better blocker too. That kind of helps him with
the snaps. He played 91%
of
snaps last week. He's going to go over 90% again. But yeah, I honestly think I might go Bailey, then Burden, then DJ Moore. We got need to chopped league. Hampton, Kyren, Waddle, Olave. I'm on the fringe of being chopped according to projections. This is the guillotine type format, I believe. We got Hampton, Kyren, Waddle, Olave.
It's a very tough. It's different than a normal fantasy question because you're really playing against every team in the entire league. And if you're projected to be chopped, I think you got to look for players have the safest floor and could have a high ceiling. For me, that's Kyren Williams against the Saints for sure. Hampton, I don't know if you can afford that risk. Waddle's been stinking it up big time recently, and Olave's been consistent. If Olave's healthy, I kind of like him a lot. I wonder I'm curious where you're at on that. I think Kyren is the lock of this question, though.
Yeah, I mean, with where you said you got to start Kyren here. God, Waddle versus Olave. Olave's targets make his floor pretty appealing. Let me put Olave in here too. I think Waddle projects better. Actually, Olave's just ahead. Yeah, it's Olave and Kyren. Both these guys have good floor and ceiling. And I think Waddle and Hampton are a little bit more pure ceiling.
I love that Waddle boom probability, though. That makes me excited. I mean, that's probly one of the higher. I mean, who's going to have a higher? That's 7%. I'm curious who has a higher boom than he does.
The thing with Waddle is the target share has been so good. 24% plus, 4 straight. We got him projected for a 27% target share. Like, he does have a high ceiling for sure. But yeah, we haven't seen him over 10 points in his last 2 games. But yeah, I still think Olave and Kyren have similar ceilings, in my opinion. Fannin, Strange, Jalen Warren, Pittman. weather. We got Fannin. Yeah, Strange over Fannin. I think it's Warren over Pittman too. Yeah. The rain, by the way, the latest I'm seeing on the rain is actually like a little bit better for this game. That the worst of the rain might go a little bit north of the stadium. Still going to be raining the whole game. It's going to be pouring rain the whole game. It just might not be quite as bad as the worst case scenario. But yeah, I'm still playing Strange, Stamps.
100%.
Parker Washington over Fannin.
I'm I'm worried about Jalen Warren this week. The game script feels kind of gross, and the Ravens' run D has been okay, and the Steelers' run scheme is horrendous. He's going to have to catch passes if you want him to succeed. So that's a tough one.
We got a few more start sits to get here, Samps. Is there any other takes that you didn't get in yet?
Yes, let me look at my list that I always create for this. They said Dalton Kincaid's going to play. If that's the case and he's not hindered whatsoever, I don't see how Dalton Kincaid doesn't have an awesome game. I think the Bengals are in this. T. Higgins is back. I also love T. Higgins this week. I've seen a ton of T. Higgins questions. I'm like, what are we talking about here? You're playing T. Higgins if he's healthy. What are we talking about? It's like the Michael Wilson questions. Like, you're playing him.
Yeah, like I said too, the over-under in that game didn't move.
Nor should it have.
53.5, Sam. It's open at 53.5. It's still at 53.5. And yeah, T. Higgins in that game environment, you just have to start. I definitely agree. Sam, did you see the verbiage from Schefter on the Kincaid comment? Because to me, like it's just a little bit scary. He said he plans to try to play. What's the verbiage they said for Kincaid? All these other players, Olave playing, like all the other guys that were playing, like they're playing today. And the verbiage was just a little bit different for Kincaid. He's coming off the hamstring and knee. It was a hamstring plus knee. I'm just like a tiny bit nervous about that, but I'm still playing. Like I agree with you. I'm still in on the ceiling for Kincaid. I just like that verbiage has me just a little bit nervous that he's like more at risk.
I love planning to try things.
Yeah, planning to try is like such a weak statement.
It's terrible.
God, yeah. So I'm just a tiny bit nervous about the Schefter verbiage, but I think I'm probably overthinking it. And yeah, I mean the Bengals tight end funnel is like an all-time funnel. Like it's really the tight ends versus the Bengals, averaging 80 yards, over a touchdown, 7 catches. I mean, they're putting up wide receiver 1 numbers every single week.
Tight end ones against the Bengals are 8th in receiving yards this year.
Crazy stuff. Yeah. And that's just the tight end one, not even all tight ends.
Yeah, exactly. Just the tight end one. Like not even the likely game, not even.
God. Happy NFL Sunday to you as well. Guys, it's the best day of the week. Shout out to everyone who's tuned into this live right now. Guys, if you haven't checked out the WalterPicks app yet, I mean, the time is running out this fantasy season. The prop evaluator is super powerful too outside of the NFL season and throughout the whole NFL playoffs. If you guys haven't checked it out yet, Samson and I have spent the last 5+ years of our life helping build this app. You can check it out for free in the App Store, especially if you don't get your start sits. That's the place to go for your start sit questions. All right, Pittman, McLaurin, Jacobs, Bucky, Brown need 2 running backs and a flex. Burrow versus Brissett's an interesting one, too, Samps. I think I would probably go with Bucky and Chase Brown and Jacobs. You're playing the 3 running backs.
That's easy.
Yeah, that's pretty easy. And then Burrow versus Brissett is kind of interesting. Burrow's another one of these guys, obviously different than Vele, though. I just kind of feel like I got to force this week versus where he's projected. He hasn't had like good games kind of this whole season, Sam. Like we haven't really seen a good Burrow game. I don't think he has a single game over 20 points. He's only played 3 games. But yeah, no games over 20 points. Last week, he threw 46 times, only 24 completions, 52% completion percentage, only a 5.7 yards per attempt, but still threw 2 TDs, 261. There was no T. Higgins in that game. The Bills have been good versus quarterbacks. We have not seen good QB games versus the Bills since week 1 from Lamar. That was a whole different Lamar, by the way.
They've played some pretty bad quarterbacks. I was looking at that. They've only played a few where you're like, that's a really good. It's May, Mahomes, and Lamar. Everyone else, Mayfield's okay.
Yeah.
So I think there's a little bit of an asterisk to it. And if it's Burrow or Brissett, I view them really similarly, right? Like Brissett is down on weapons in a terrible matchup. Burrow has weapons in an iffy matchup. That for me, it's Burrow in that situation. I think it's pretty what I boil it down to, pretty much.
Yeah, I'm willing to force Burrow in this spot. I think Brissett's floor is probably like a little bit safer. It could be a big Chase Brown game potentially from the Bengals, but I don't see an outcome here where Burrow's not throwing it like close to 40 times.
Yeah, I agree.
So yeah, I'm in on the ceiling for Burrow. I think he's definitely got like week winning potential here. God, yeah, it's a tough call though between those two for sure. Any other take, Samps? You didn't get in yet?
I mean, I was unaware that with our changes that he was projected so highly, but you see on the screen there, I love Brenton Strange.
Yeah, as Parker Washington got ruled out, so he got bumped up even higher than we already had him. I mean, he's 0.1 ahead of Warren. I think that one's close. The same game, but it's like impossible not to project Strange really strong. I mean, he hasn't had bad games really. This game he didn't play the full game. Only got hurt in the first half. He's one game under 10 points this season. And in the games that he's played, he leads the Jags in receiving.
He's great, and he impacts the whole team. The run game's better when he plays, and so it was a shot in the arm him being back. And I love Tyler Warren in this same game. It might be a hot take because of the weather, but all week I've told people I really like Daniel Jones, and maybe they just run it with JT the whole game, but I like Daniel Jones. I think he had 16 points last week against the Texans. And I'm not worried about the injury. It's a fracture. Fractures are hard to duplicate. I feel he's wearing a really interesting 3D printed pad on his leg. I think he's fine. And it's a good matchup. So he's got a good playoff schedule. I think he's in a good spot. I mean, even with the weather, we still have him projected for 270 yards. So I love Daniel Jones this week.
Yeah, I'm nervous for him. We haven't projected his QB4. I'm definitely more pessimistic than you about him, and only just because of the rushing. He had one rushing attempt for 1 yard. I think it was a QB sneak. Last week, only 3 attempts. The week before that, he's not that exciting to me without this rushing potential that he had earlier in the season. I think his odds to score a rushing touchdown are so low if he's only going to run 1 to 3 times a game. Plus, you had the rain on top of that. I don't know if the ceiling is really there. All of the games over 20 points almost, he was doing something on the ground. He did have three pass touchdowns in this game versus the Titans. But yeah, the matchup is good. The game environment actually should be fine. But I personally, looking at the RQB ranks, I think I'd play Jalen Hurts over him and Brissett and Mahomes and maybe Lamar too. And then I probably would have Daniel Jones here in the ranks, but I mean, these are some tough QBs.
Brissett and Mahomes are tough for me to say over Daniel. I kind of feel like the whole, Mahomes, I just don't see how he doesn't struggle against the Texans. 3 of his starting O-linemen are hurt, and he's going against arguably the best defensive line in the NFL. It just seems like a terrible spot. I love Quinshon Judkins this week. I've been kind of iffy on him, but this is the week where I think he's going to smash. I think he's at 20+ point potential.
That's in on Judkins too. So that's 2 for 2 on our guests today. Would you play Tyler Warren or Terry McLaurin? And that starts it. I got pulled up there.
Oh, I think you go with Terry. He looked 100%. He looked fantastic, and Daniels is back. Well, I saw some numbers about Daniels that are a little concerning, a little sophomore slumpish. Maybe that's why he wanted to come back and play. But I think you go Terry. If what you say is true, that Jefferson has a great game, 9 isn't horrible. McLaurin's got to have a good game, right? He's going to get matched up against one of those bad, or not bad, but struggling corners for the Vikings.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it matters the matchup, honestly. He was cooking Pat Surtain last week. I mean, he looked really good, and that was with Mariota too. So I agree. I don't think you can really bench McLaurin here in Week 14. All right, we got a couple super chats to get to. Shout out to everyone doing the super chat. We do appreciate you guys supporting the live. Half PPR thoughts on dropping Addison and Brian Thomas Jr. Addison's matchups are good, I guess, but I don't know. Yeah, everyone's at the same spot here with that. I'm okay dropping Addison. Honestly, I don't think there's too much risk dropping him. I would be more scared to drop Brian Thomas Jr. personally. And then Knight or Neal, motivation might favor Bam Knight. Yeah, I don't know about the motivation aspect. I do prefer Neal over Bam Knight. Neal's just in a workhorse role. Bam Knight's not. Bam Knight is splitting with Michael Carter, and he's got the tougher matchup too. God, Knight projects better though, Samps. He has actually been pretty good. I think he's been over 12 in 3 straight. Yeah, he's been at least 13 in 3 straight games. He's catching passes too. But he's got the Rams. They're 8.5 point underdogs. Yeah, Devon Neal playing. Yeah, I'm going Neal here too. He's playing over 80% of the snaps. He hasn't scored. Has he scored? Yeah, he doesn't have a touchdown yet. Devon Neal does not have a touchdown this season. I think I'd go Devon Neal there.
And I think dropping Addison and BTJ is kind of like elite pre-playoff strategy. Hopefully you match up against the person who picks them up and they play them because they have the name value, but they're not putting in the work fantasy wise. So yeah, it's what a weird season. There's people dropping like Justin Jefferson. Like what's going on?
Winning in week, start 3, DJ Moore, Burden, Bailey, Worthy. It's not a bad move to just play Moore and Burden together. I think you probably bench Worthy here, honestly, and you should play those other 3. And then Loveland or Likely. I haven't talked about either of these tight ends a ton, so I'm glad someone asked this question too, because these are 2 kind of interesting tight ends. Likely coming off a huge game in kind of a good matchup, but he's in a 3-way tight end rotation. And you got Loveland also should benefit from the Dunze injury. We have Loveland pretty low, I think, in the ranks right now. Let me find him here. Tight end 12. I mean, not that low. Back in tight end 1, we have him versus Likely kind of close. I think I probably do lean Loveland too. But then you're playing Burden, Moore, and Loveland in the same team, which a little bit of cannibalization there. It does kind of depend on the matchup too, how much you're down or projected win by. But yeah, you agree with those thoughts there, Samps? Yeah, scared about too many Bears, he says.
Yeah, I kind of believe that Loveland's the main beneficiary of Dunze being out. I like Colston Loveland. I've been in on him too many weeks now. Maybe it's a mistake, but I like him. And I don't want to say it too loudly, but I mean, I kind of like Xavier Worthy in the matchup because he's a very scheme the ball guy. And in a tough matchup, that's kind of what you want. Like a guy who's manufactured the ball. It's not something I have a ton of conviction behind, but I think it's okay to start Worthy if you don't want to play too many Bears.
Yeah, and you would, I think, go Worthy over Burden. I think I'd go Worthy over Moore. So there's a tough decision there too about which Bear to bench. But Xavier Worthy, similar to Metcalf for me. Like I think the big game is coming. And I'm out on Metcalf at this point with these reports about Scantling and Thielen like getting the ball. I have no faith in Rodgers to do the smarter thing there with Metcalf, but Worthy, like the role has been good, similar to like Puka too. Like he's getting at least 4 targets every game. He's had at least 5 in 5 straight. He's had at least 6 in 4 of those 5. Haven't seen the big game though from Worthy, like really at all this whole season. Doesn't have a game with more than like his one game where he scored, he only had 2 catches in 20 yards. Like he doesn't have a game with over 40 yards and a touchdown this whole season. And yeah, I agree. This matchup is kind of interesting for Worthy. So yeah, that's a tough one. I personally would be fine going Worthy over DJ Moore if you're scared about that one. I would play Loveland over Likely. We got Terry McLaurin versus Saquon Barkley. Sam, Saquon is like, I think I'm in a similar spot with Saquon, I think you are with Justin Jefferson in some of your leagues where I've been trading for him all season. I've been buying the dip on Saquon right up till the trade deadline. Part of the reason was this schedule down the stretch, similar to what people were hoping for with Justin Jefferson. He's got his toughest game of the season left here. The offensive line is hurt as well. Like the offensive line's got injuries for the Eagles. Saquon, he played 92% of snaps last week. You couldn't tell in the fantasy production. He had 6 points, not even. No catches. God, I think you go Terry. Saquon projects better. It's close.
You go, Terry. I think a lot of people I on my live stream this week, I said, how many games do you guys think Saquon scored more than 20 points this season? Maybe one person got it right. It's only been one time all season. Only once. And look at the recent stretch. It's terrible. He had 12 points against the Cowboys. Like, I think he's got to prove that he's
in that game too.
He's got to prove that he's not washed. He's got to prove to me he's not washed, and he might be washed.
Yeah, these 3 games in the fantasy playoffs, I still have a lot of hope for, but man, I'm okay going McLaurin there. All right, Pittman, Neal, Monunga, and Mooney. First Mooney question I've seen. I'm okay with him as a dart throw. I think I actually talked about it very early on in the live. I'm forced to start him in one of my 14-team leagues with a bunch of buys in London on that team too. But outside of that, I'm not playing Mooney over any of these guys. I think you go Neal, Monunga here. I think you were arguing Monunga over Neal earlier, Samps. Is that how you feel?
Yeah, I think so. The run scheme is too good for Chicago. Ben Johnson has schemed the best rushing attack in the NFL, and that's my argument for Monunga. He's playing like a man with his head on fire. So I think you got to go with Monunga.
Yeah, it's a very interesting decision here. It's volume versus efficiency. Neal's getting the volume. I would definitely expect Neal to touch the ball more than Monangai today, just because Neal's not coming off the field really. He's playing over 80% of the snaps. Monangai's going to be in a 50-50 split. But Monangai, God,
has he out-touched Swift the last 2 weeks? I feel like I saw it. I think he
22
has.
carries and one target didn't get a catch there. Yeah, I think he did out-touch Swift last week. See, 22 carries versus 18. Yeah, in one catch. It was 22 to 19.
Yeah, so it's interesting. I like Pittman a lot too. It's just last week I was done so dirty by the weather reports of Cleveland and the Niners, so I don't know what to believe anymore. So I'm like kind of worried. Like the weather is either going to be nothing, maybe it's going to be a lot.
Yeah, I'm not overly concerned. Honestly, the weather does not have me overly concerned. I think it's like a tiebreaker for me in some of those for some of the Colts and Jags receivers. But like I like teams are going to be able to throw in that rain. Like it's not like an unthrowable situation. And there's no offense that I'm like you absolutely can't play today because of the weather.
Okay, that makes me feel a little better.
Yeah, Stafford or Baker. Yeah, it's Stafford over Baker, I think, like for sure. And then Waddle, Johnson, Rodriguez, got to be Waddle, man. You got to go Waddle in Stafford here. Do you disagree, Samps?
I don't disagree. I will say I do think there is a role where Rodriguez has. Like I like Chris Rodriguez this week. If you need somebody, like he's clearly the best running back on the team. Bill has faded. Like, has anyone seen Bill Krosky-Merritt recently? Is there proof of life? I don't know where he's at. Rodriguez has been effective. And if Daniels can get the offense moving, he's got a chance to score once or twice. But I think you go Waddle over him. But I like them both.
Yeah, Rodriguez is definitely the running back you want for sure on that team. But yeah, I'm going Waddle. The ceiling for Waddle is so much higher.
Yeah, that boom percentage is undeniable. 7% is one of the highest I think I've seen all season. I don't know when was the last? I don't know. Like I really don't know.
Got to win this week. Need your advice. Smitty, Addison, Burden. I saw some other Devontae Smith versus Vele question a second ago too, Samps. I think that one's kind of close. Devontae Smith's targets the last couple of games have actually been good. I'm just going to add Vele here too because I know there's some people out there with that question. I'm going to put in Burden. We're not starting Addison. We're taking Addison out of this. All right. This is, super, super close here, Samps. I think I've been making the argument actually to go Vele over Burden. I like both of them. Devontae Smith is kind of a scary name to bench in like these must-win games.
Boom percentage is so high. It's like 6x the other guys. That's so hard for me to deny.
Yeah.
I think it's Devontae Smith. Personally, invoke some fear in your opponent Monday night. I always love to use that as a tiebreaker. Maybe it's not the best strategy, but I do think it's kind of fun to be like, I got the Heisman winning wide receiver going against you.
Gosh, I think I'm going Vele. I'm forcing Vele.
You got to ride. You got to ride for die or for Vele. So like you're too far in. I mean, we're looking at Jamar Chase, Devon Vele. Who are we going with? That's where you're at.
Oh gosh, the matchup's good. Roll has been good. Yeah, it's a tough call. I think you can't really go wrong in a start sit like this because it's such a coin flip. I would be okay going Devontae over Burden. I think I personally would force Vele. But it's really a tough pill to swallow.
That boom percentage is too insane to me.
Samps is going Devontae. I'm going Vele, I think, here. And then Smitty versus Burden, I think I would probably go Devontae Smith over Burden.
Yeah, I want to see it from Burden. He's in my DFS lineup, but I want, if I'm starting in regular fantasy league, I want to see it. I want to see one of those games.
We got Woody Marks, Rodriguez. I think it's Rodriguez over Marks. Samps.
100%.
Marks gets the Chiefs. Oh gosh, that's
Marks has low-key not looked very good. Like in my opinion, I feel like he's looked kind of inefficient, not reading the holes super well. And I don't think there's going to be a lot of holes to be read tonight. So I'd go with Rodriguez.
Yeah, playoff game here again for the Chiefs. Yeah, we haven't seen Marks go over 8 points. Yeah, the efficiency's not been great either. I mean, the offensive line has big problems for the Texans too.
Yeah,
I actually think that the Texans matchup may be worse against the Chiefs defense, and the Chiefs offense matches up against the Texans. I mean, the game could be kind of gross, definitely in that game.
It will be.
Yeah, Rodriguez, I think, has a better chance at a touchdown there too. And then we got Strange versus Pitts. We had them back to back, I think, here in the tight end ranks. Yeah, we have Strange at tight end 3, Pitts at tight end 5, but with the weather, like it's super close. We have them 0.2 points apart in projection in the WalterPicks app. The Seahawks' worst position defensively stopping has been tight ends. That's who Pitts gets today. And they're also big underdogs. They're 6-point underdogs, I think, at home, the Falcons. That was one of the underdogs I thought has a chance to win. But then we got Strange without Parker Washington in a really good matchup against the Colts. Colts even better matchup for tight ends. I'm leaning Strange here and not letting the weather get me off of Strange. But, I mean, Pitts is not a bad option either. We got the ceiling higher for Strange. Pitts higher floor. You got to lean here, Samps?
I kind of just lean Strange. I think he got a higher floor and a higher ceiling than Kyle Pitts does. For me, it just feels like the Seattle defense against Kirk Cousins is just kind of sounds like a nightmare to me. And Seattle is like, specifically their coach has been insane on the road. Yeah. There's going to be more Seahawks fans at that game than Falcons fans. But I worry about the weapons for the Falcons.
This is a good one to get to too. I talked about Godwin with Seth. Godwin looked a little bit like himself for the first time all season last week. Only had 3 catches still, but went for, I think, 78 or 72 yards. Should have had a touchdown as well. Should have had 17 points, dropped the touchdown, I believe. The Alec Pierce, though, he's been great. Like one of the most underrated receivers in the NFL. Been pretty underrated for fantasy, too. He's been at 17+ in 3 of his last 4. But I think the rain affects him more than anyone. Would you consider Godwin here, Samps, or are you sticking with Pierce despite the rain?
I'd go with Chris Godwin against the Saints, I think. I think Chris Godwin's got great potential to be like a Olave PPR merchant-esque guy in this matchup. I think today's going to be a lot of Bucky and Godwin all day long. So Pierce is – I don't disagree with the boom. I do think Pierce is going to have a better boom percentage than Godwin, but yeah, I go Godwin there.
Yeah, I'm in on Godwin over Pierce too. I think the rain impacts Pierce more than anyone else probably in that whole game. Win and in Kenneth Walker or Mooney? Yeah, it's not close. Not close. Also, why so low on Mooney? Yeah, the math ad is it's just taking 1 week off.
Bye week.
Yeah. I'm in the playoffs, and I was telling Seth, I'm in 12 fantasy leagues. Samps, I'm in the playoffs already in 10 of them. I have one game, one where I'm a win and in, and then I'm in the 32 where I'm mathematically basically out. So yeah, we're resting the math ad for the fantasy playoffs for next week. Taking the well-earned bye week. Kenneth versus Mooney is not close at all. Why so low on Mooney? I mean, the volume just hasn't really been there for Mooney. I think he's startable in like deeper leagues, deeper situations, because there's still a ceiling like we saw in week 12 a couple weeks ago. But I mean, he's got one game over 10 points all season. Even with Drake London out, he's not like a floor. There's no floor.
And I also want to call out the Seahawks are getting Jaron Reed, their defensive tackle, and Julian Love, their safety back in this game. Their defense is got even better. And Julian Love being back kind of limits that deep play potential of Darnell Mooney. So I do want to call that out. Mooney could definitely disappoint this week.
Samps, this feels like a good one to end on.
Okay.
Lamar, Brissett,
oh no,
and Love. I mean, we got to talk about Lamar.
We have to.
On the live today, I talked about it with Seth. I mean, Seth is a Steelers fan, and he has no faith in the Steelers defense. He thinks Lamar is going to be in for a big game. I've been saying on this live every week, I think this is the week we see Lamar bounce back. It's a good matchup for Lamar this week, and we haven't seen it. And I'm honestly like, I'm definitely starting to lose faith because it's been back-to-back weeks where not only has he not like bounced back, I mean, he's done just straight up bad. Under 8 points from Lamar in 3 straight games, but now you're in these must-win games in fantasy. You got Lamar. Are you really going to bench him for Brissett and Jordan Love? I know this has not been the normal Lamar, but like on paper, this is a good matchup for Lamar Jackson. Like it wouldn't be that shocking, Sam, to look back and see Lamar be the QB1 this week. Like he's definitely got that in his range of outcomes, probably more so than Love and Brissett. But I mean, both Love and Brissett, their floor has been way better than Lamar. I mean, Brissett's not been under 18 points all season. Lamar's been under 8 in 3 straight games. Love's floor has been, I guess, a bit more inconsistent here, but I think it's really between Brissett and Lamar, though. I don't think Love's really a part of this. We got Brissett with the safer floor in the app and Lamar with the higher ceiling, kind of exactly what I'm just saying there. How are you feeling with Lamar this week? I know you said your rule doesn't really apply right now for Lamar, but yeah,
Yeah.
would you go for Brissett?
So Michael Jordan was big into bulletin board material, right? Back in the day, he would come up with it himself. He had to. If someone was saying he stunk or whatever, he'd use it and it'd be a huge chip on his shoulder. Lamar Jackson replied to a Steelers fan on Twitter saying Lamar might be washed. He put a laughing emoji. For me, I think Lamar's locked in this week. I'm going Lamar Jackson. I'm riding with my guy Lamar. Never a doubt. You're going with Lamar. These games are always weird. And I think that might actually benefit him. So we're going to ride with the player who should be a 4, maybe 5-time MVP, Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, I think I agree. The more I think about this, you got Lamar. He's been worse, just straight up worse over the last month than Brissett. But you got Lamar in a better matchup in a must-win game. Like you got to go with Lamar, man.
Steelers looked so bad last week, like truly, truly so bad too.
Yeah, their defense has had some really bad moments this season. And I feel like especially like they've really struggled with speed. Like, and that's exactly how Lamar can succeed in this game. That's the other thing that it just hasn't been there. Like the rushing has just vanished for Lamar, and I really would like to see that come back here in this game.
Well,
he's been barely running. He had 2 carries. No, how many carries did he have last week?
Not very many.
6 carries, only 27 rushing yards. He hasn't hit 30 rushing yards in 4 weeks.
Well, and the thing about Lamar also is last week they had a phantom OPI call on Zay Flowers that would have been a touchdown. And for some reason, Isaiah Likely in his big frame decided I want to reach the ball over the goal line instead of just plunging my way in, which would have been 2 touchdowns, which changes that 7 to like 18-ish with the yards, maybe even 20. Yeah. So we're in a completely alternate reality if those 2 things don't happen. Yeah. And we're saying you smash Lamar this week. So that's also part of it.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I think that's a good one to wrap up on. Samps, thanks so much for hopping on the live. I look forward to talking through the first fantasy playoff slate
of the
week next week. Good luck, everyone, guys. Time, it's the most valuable thing we have. So thanks for spending some time with us today on the live. Good luck, everyone, and we'll see you next week.
Flu game Sam.
Have a good one, guys.
Yeah. See everybody.